Yeah, for
All
sure.
for the course.
I've done it myself.
Yeah, I actually overbooked just in case because a few people are going through some things, so I was expecting last minute cancellations one way or another. All right, going left. No. I wasn't sure if Sprout's going to be able to make it because Sprout has some things going on right now. And then with Clyde, sometimes things happen, so I just wanted to make sure. And there's Sprout.
And it's always when you plan for it, it's when it doesn't happen.
Exactly. But, you know, proper preparation and all that.
Well, yeah, but if you don't prep for it, that's when you're screwed.
It's like, I'm actually short one, and then I get 2 cancellations. I'm like, oh, for real? Push that. Oh, I can go live right now. It's about that time, so I'm going to push the button.
I'll be rushing that.
Button is pushed. Looking good, Sprout.
Thanks. It's what I had to give it. It's what I have at like a last minute opportunity. So
Awesome. Glad to have you.
Yeah, hey
This
Sprout, how
fight's
you doing?
taking longer than I expected.
good considering the circumstances.
What's wrong?
Yeah, I didn't tell your business, so if you want to fill everybody in, you can.
Yeah, y'all. The reason you don't see me in front of like the flag that I typically have at shit is my house caught fire. Last time I was on Leafy's panel, so like
Last Wednesday.
a week. Yeah, it's been a week.
Oh my god.
Are you okay? How are things
yeah,
now?
everyone's safe. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
When I said, "Are you okay?" I was like, "That's kind of a silly question to ask." So I just said, "How are things now?"
Things now are fine. The adjuster's been out there. The contractor got out there and took a look today. The fire investigation's done. So the house is back open to where I can actually get work done to it as soon as insurance gets done with their estimates.
And you did let them know about the collection of Jackson Pollocks you had, right?
Yes, I did. Yeah, and
That's not how that works, Lethy. But
and the original. I forget
Mona
what it's
Lisa?
called. No, not well. I had that too. But it's the car
As
from
one
Back to the
does.
Future. I had the original
DeLorean.
car from
The
Back to the
DeLorean?
Future.
Yeah, your DeLorean.
Yeah, I had the original DeLorean from Back to the Future, and I put a black diamond gear shifter knob on there. So I just want to make sure all that gets replaced.
I tell
Yeah,
you what,
you
I
need to
would
be
definitely be
compensated.
inflating my magic collection quite a bit. I'd just be like,
Bruh.
I'd just make up a list of all
As
the cards that I
somebody who
want, and be like, "Here's what I
well, no,
lost."
as somebody who actually has to ensure their collection, yeah, you have to give them itemized lists before the accident for that shit to work. Just saying.
I know. I've actually looked into insuring my collection.
What if
a
you have
couple
Yeah.
times. If you
You
have
got
So, like,
receipts.
So like yeah, like I bought stuff like so I have like a whole trophy case I have it set up over here that I'm gonna when I move stuff around and like in there I have some are cards that I like got signed by like the voice actors for the people. They'll be like like a Yu-Gi-Oh card that's signed by the guy who plays Kaiba and it'll be like a first edition like Blue Eyes or something. And like so like
That's pretty
I have
cool.
yeah so like I bought it and I have a receipt for it and like wouldn't that be sufficient? I wouldn't need to give that to
Well,
them
it
if I had
depends.
that.
It
No,
depends.
because
I
you
only
don't
noticed
know
I'm
the
going through it
current
right now.
value.
I only know this because I'm going through it right now. But it depends because content. You have a certain amount in that bucket to where like contents of your home. So once you meet that limit, anything exceeding that limit is on you.
Mm.
Not only that too. You say, "Wouldn't a receipt suffice?" It's their
Well, yeah,
job
or
to not
pictures
pay
of it.
you. It's their
Yeah.
job to not pay you. So if you're like, you receipt, "Oh well, we didn't get the itemized list," so go fuck yourself.
What if I have pictures of it in my house?
It doesn't matter. I mean, you can say it's contents, but like once you get past that, once you hit that limit, then you hit the limit.
Yeah, like
You got
I have
business
a
insurance
special,
or something.
yeah, I literally have a special policy added on to the rest of my homeowner's insurance for collectibles. I have another policy added
Really?
on for my tools. Yeah.
How much
are
of that? How much of
necessary.
that collection is magic? Jack?
Yeah, how much does the collectible
not-
insurance cost?
17 or $18 a month for about $140,000 worth.
I think
My bourbon collection took a fucking hit.
That's sad. That's some sad stuff. Right
And-
Highly flammable.
All my
primarily
bottles- all my bottles
comics.
I'm sorry.
Primarily comics, not magic.
You were popping bottles the wrong way.
So all my bottles were on top of like the kitchen cabinets for like a display of my collection of bourbon, right? Every single bottle, the cork popped, seal broke. Every single bottle.
You hate to hear it.
That's rough.
No pets or anything were lost. Yeah.
No, the pets are safe, and me and my wife are safe as well. So
Good.
And that's what matters
I'm
most.
currently in my in-laws' house. So I should be getting a temporary house here soon. But
All I can say
staying
is
with my
it's
in-laws.
fuzzy in the background, but you may have been better back in the burnt out house if that's a Chevy sign over that TV.
I don't think it is. I was gonna
It's
call
not
that.
Chevy. It actually
guessing it's
says
past?
It actually says American Jeep Legend on it. This is like they got.
Oh,
like, a
never mind. That's worse. That's worse.
I'm so glad I'm not a
I
car
think you know what
guy. The weirdest,
it's just
the weirdest
joking.
like anger triggers. You say that,
Oh,
but I
I'm
bet
from
it comes
Detroit,
out.
man. No, I'm literally
Hey,
from
Lethy, I'm gonna go get
Detroit,
some
and
whiskey real quick.
I love European cars. I love Japanese cars. Cars are cars, man. Many companies have produced quality fucking vehicles, regardless of what anybody says. Even Chevy, even Ford. Like, it's just fun to joke with people.
Why does it look like Sprout just went into a cabinet?
is what it looked like.
It doesn't even look. It doesn't look like another room.
He went to
It looks like it
Narnia for
looks
whiskey.
Wait.
That's what happened.
The thing in the back there, that's the door he went into.
Yeah.
When you said that, I thought a door
Yeah.
must have opened on the side because that, to my brain, just literally is a cabinet. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in
I was
Narnia
like,
now.
what
He'll
the
be back in
fuck?
like 2 years, give or take.
It'll be like 5 minutes to us.
That's like a corner cabinet.
Jack, I'm
I'm
very close to Detroit, and I've lived with people that are from my whole. You know what I mean about car guys, though. They'll just get mad.
Well, the thing is I wouldn't call those guys car guys. I'd call that a Ford guy or a Chevy guy because that's the only thing they give a rat's ass about.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They
I'm
will
grouping them all
literally-
together as car guys.
My brother can take apart a car
Fair.
and put it back together.
Yeah, he's one of the guys they're talking about right there.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Well, yeah, being able to do that, more than likely your brother is not one who overly fucking emphasizes one brand or another. He may prefer one or another, but once you know
Yeah.
how they work, you're
He
just
taught
like,
himself too.
I'm
"Yeah,
working
that's
on
how my
that,
dad was.
but just to save money. I've probably saved like $2,000 in the last like year and a half because everybody I know that fixes cars are like pretty dumb guys in general. And I've been doing IT work my whole life, and I'm like, if these guys can figure this out, like, I need to stop being intimidated because, like, I've seen these motherfuckers struggle with like obvious solution problems. Like, I gotta be able to do this. And
Well,
it's been
it's
working out.
different because when you're talking about like socio problems, like certain things that they use different parts of the brain. Mechanically, no, there are some people who can barely sign their own fucking name, but can take and put together engines that to you would look like fucking alien technology. Like
it comes
just,
down to experience,
it's experience.
right?
Yeah, exactly. And as far as like engines go, like good luck today. Like now it's all computer work. You're already fucking set on this shit. You just plug in a fucking laptop and make sure it diagnoses everything for you.
I have a little
where-
Bluetooth
whereas-
device.
Whereas like
Or-
back in the day, I literally used to have to take a screwdriver and put it to different parts on the engine, like the Phillips head point down to the engine block, and then put my ear against the handle to hear for different things in the engine.
Are you serious?
Yes.
That's crazy.
We had really long screwdrivers so we could get to really hard to reach portions of the engine. It's called acoustic surveying. you're listening for like, oh, I hear something wrong. Where's that not coming from? Where's this hiss coming from, etc. And because sound travels really, really well through solids, it allows you to pinpoint it down a lot more accurately.
I won't
Now,
touch my
not
gas
as
or my
accurately
brakes,
as not as accurately as sensors and like high-end computers and all that shit, but better than just your ear while the engine's running, so you don't have to take the whole damn thing apart.
Fair. That's actually pretty smart.
I feel like some people just are able to listen and they'll be able to know faster than the sensor. Sometimes the sensor will
Absolutely
pick up
not.
stuff. You don't think so?
Well, but that's people who literally do it every day. I know how to work on engines. I don't do that every day.
Yeah, I don't do that every day. Yeah, I couldn't do that. My dad maybe could. He works on like airplane engines all day. He'll be like, "Yeah, it's this thing," and I'm like, "Nah, I
My
don't
brother
even know."
does that too. Yeah.
I'm like, "I don't even know what that thing is," but sure, I'll take your word for it.
Up
I
until
had a. Oh, go ahead.
so up until when I started like a year and a half ago, I didn't do anything. So I just started making TikToks of me working on my vehicle just so my friend could see it, and he got so anxious and shut up, like, "Stop doing this." He's like, "You're gonna blow up your car or something. Please stop." And every time there'd be a new one, he's like, "Dude, please, like," he's like, "What do I gotta do? Like, stop. You're scaring me." Like, I don't give a fuck.
That good, huh?
What were you doing, by the way? Like, because like depending on what you were doing as far as like the work, it may actually be worthwhile of being like worried. If you were changing the oil or spark plugs, this motherfucker needs to take a damn Xanax.
I've replaced it. I've replaced my throttle positioning sensor. I had to take my steering wheel off a couple of times. I had to change out like 8 different things trying to fix my cruise control. Because there was a lot of things it could have been.
Yeah, but this is just like relays and shit. It's plug and play.
I didn't think there was anything that was scary. I'm not touching anything involving my gas line, and I'm not touching my brakes because if I get those wrong, I'll die. So.
You want to hear something crazy?
I also wouldn't touch your wiring harness.
Mm.
I had a
He
girl
works on electronics. He's fine.
Okay.
I did
You
put
to
a
hear
system
something
in.
crazy?
What's going
Sure.
on, Andrew?
Yes.
So my ex worked for Lockheed Martin building helicopters for the government, and he had no experience. And the only reason that he was hired was because he was tall and skinny enough to reach places that other people couldn't.
That's
There you
true.
go, Sprout.
Definitely hire people for that. Like,
Doesn't
that's
surprise
like, zero
me.
doubt.
Yeah, literally no history of.
My dad
working
used to
on-
work for Lockheed Martin, and they definitely had a guy on tap that was basically that guy.
Yeah.
Like,
You want to
Who
forward me
knows? It might
that?
have been him.
You want to forward me that information? Just offline. Forward me that
Oh, yeah?
information for Lockheed Martin. Yeah.
How tall are you?
I'm 6'1".
Oh, see, he was 6'7".
The monster.
Well, you know what? Maybe they'll feel bad for me because I'm a little bit shorter.
No, just get some platform shoes. You'll be all right.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go,
Vertical
platform
stripes.
shoes.
Vertical stripes.
And
No,
Lethe,
I'm not
I
even
swear-
talking
I swear,
stilts.
if
It's not
this-
that much, damn.
Slenderman's that job.
I swear, Lethe, if this house catches fire, your panels are cursed. Okay?
Oh, don't even say that right now. That was wild. Like, there's actually
blaming you.
clips. There's clips of when when he figured out his house was on fire, and it's like, this is gonna be here forever.
Oh, you can see the start of it too. You can see like the flash of like when the fire started. Like you can see like my room like flash behind me. I didn't notice it real
How
time.
did it
but
happen?
You can,
Yeah, what was the cause?
lithium ion battery failed, blew up.
Phone or what?
It was like a clothes steamer. It was like a steamer.
What?
I
I
don't
almost
know,
bought
like
one of those.
I have a
almost bought one
towel
of those.
steamer.
I have a
The
close
things we
steamer.
pay for creases.
And so, it blew up. And evidently, lithium ion batteries can start fires like instantaneously.
Oh yes.
Yes.
And huge
lithium.
fires.
That's why
Yeah,
you have to like get rid of them like very careful.
Okay.
Once
let's
they
put this
start,
into-
you can't stop them from burning. I had somebody bring me a MacBook that's battery expanded to where it popped open their touchpad. And I was like, okay, you're already holding it. I was like, I'm going to have you put this in the back. Go ahead and set this on the chair. And I kicked the chair away. I was like, okay, now we can fill out paperwork. I'm going to make somebody else work on this.
Well, it's the thing is, it's when you start talking these li poly batteries. We could look at Teslas. The average Tesla fire takes 40,000 gallons of water to put out.
Oh shit.
Well, because it's an electric fire.
Well, it's
Well, a
burning through the
chemical
fuel in
fire.
the battery. Yeah, water's not going to make it reduce the amount
No.
of chemical it has to burn.
Water actually does it does deal with it, because what it's doing is it's essentially like breaking it apart and allowing it to burn off more quickly. It's
Yeah,
not
what I'm saying is
actually
it
putting
can't
out.
put it out. Yeah, because it's not.
You've got 7 kilowatt hours, 7
Damn,
kilowatt
vitamin.
hours per kilogram in those batteries, and we get like 5% of that in electricity. Whereas if it's burning, you get all of it.
And fuck batteries.
thank
I
you.
know people that have like drawers full of batteries just because they don't know how to get rid of.
Well, no, like honestly,
Lithium's
like
scarier.
We need
can't
them for
be
the
healthy.
zombies. We need 'em for the
these things
zombies.
have live poly batteries, and like I keep like a drawer, so they're like a couple extra pops before they go away. Yeah, I recently cleaned out that fucking drawer.
I had to too.
I threw away like 50 of them. I'm like,
There was your little the new and improved roaches.
and I'm sitting there going, man, this is I hope my trash can doesn't set on fire. So I dumped them and immediately put my trash can onto the road.
So Ty's running late. So should we do the Mexico topic first?
Sure.
She's running late?
Hey, you're running the
Ty.
show.
I don't understand why the reasoning why we'd switch or do anything different.
Because she
he's
wants to
running
be
late.
particularly in the homeless topic because that's what she's dealing with right now.
So we'll go with the
Wait,
UBI
she-
one. Well, yeah. So, well, if Clyde shows up.
Ty? Oh,
Oh,
Clyde.
Ty
I was
and
saying
Clyde.
Ty.
Well, Ty
I
and
was like,
Clyde.
is Tiberius she?
I was about to
I
say,
mean-
That's what I was curious about too. I'm like, wait, what?
So you guys got to warn me when somebody changes. I'm
How
gonna be
dare
fucking.
you misgender her?
I was
well, it's like
I'm
I've been out of the loop for like a week and a half. Like I was like, did I miss something?
What a difference a day makes.
Oh, dude, you know, with everything that's been going on with me, like fucking, even though I've been around, like brain has not really been here.
It's been a month. It's been a crazy month or so in this space.
For me, the
Well,
past
right.
week is all just merged together. But
Feel you. So we'll do the UBI one then, and then when Ty shows up, he shows up, and we're good, and then we'll do the other one right after. So
Which
let's
one's
go ahead and
going
get it
first?
popping. I'm going to go with the UBI one first.
UBI, okay.
All right, so everyone, welcome to the Minds of the Ecclesia panel. I am your host, Lethewaterkai. I have some great people here to enjoy a great conversation and some fun topics. I'm going to go ahead and do intros first. So let's start with Admiral Gibbs.
Hey, I'm Admiral Gibbs. You can find me at Admiral Gibbs everywhere. I don't know if there's any other conservatives, but I'm going to be the conservative voice today. Or a conservative voice today.
Excellent. Well, we were going to wait for the other one, but we're not going to do that right now. All right, Elder Drowsy.
I'm Elder Drowsy. I feel like everybody knows enough about me, have their minds made up about me. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all Elder Drowsy. And
Excellent.
I'm happy to
There
be
he
here.
is.
Perfect.
All right, Ginger.
I am Ginger Amoth. You can find me on Twitch and YouTube and Twitter under the same name. 2 R's in the middle, not just one. I do panels, cosplay, gaming, and I go over all kinds of scams.
Oh, Jack, our producer, who's on mute.
And of course, Twitch or Discord be a pain in the ass. I am Jack, and I obviously pop around doing booking and producing these panels. Overall, I just get in here and yell at you youngins because you all need to pull your head out of your ass. And so I get to be Grandpa Simpson.
And the Sprouticus.
what's up? I am the Sprouticus. If you've watched any of these, you probably know who I am. Looking forward to the discussion. Yeah.
Excellent. Soyadle.
Hey, I'm Soyadle. You can find me almost everywhere at Soyadle or Your Environment Seattle or the Eco Monitors channel live every Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific. Ready to get into this topic, but I'm running home right now, so I'll be in my native habitat pretty soon.
Excellent. And we have
Leafy,
Tiberius.
is
I don't
that a
know.
watermelon flavored Red Bull?
This one's peach. I usually drink
Ah.
watermelon, but peach
The
came out
watermelon's my
recently.
favorite.
The watermelon's
I like
banging.
you 80% more
watermelon.
than I used to, Ginger.
Oh, thank you.
You
The
have
watermelon's usually the go-to.
okay.
That's so good.
What a good crowd we have tonight. What a good fucking crowd. Okay.
I know. I didn't even get my intro, you fucking cunts. Wow, like, great way to start this one off.
We're
Anyway,
still
my
in
name-
The crowd
intros.
just got
We're
worse.
still
The
in
crowd just got
intros.
worse.
Well, anyway,
Jesus
my
Christ.
name is Tiberius D. I'll be jumping in and out for about the next 30 minutes before I actually am able to be on cam and join you. I am very interested in these topics, although I'm going to be a little bit spicy because apparently 13-hour days with no overtime is just perfectly fucking acceptable here in the United States of America. So do expect the spice because I will fucking bring it. But anyway, if you haven't met me before, I'm basically a moderate Republican. I kind of hang out and just tell everyone they're stupid because they need to come down to reality a little bit. Which is hilarious because I'm pretty much an old man at the age of 32. So without further ado, I'll turn it back to you guys and we'll get back to it.
Young
All right. Well, let's get it popping. We're going to start off with topic 1. Denver experimented with giving people $1,000 a month. It reduced homelessness and increased full-time employment, a study found. The results so far, people who were sleeping in the streets at the start of the experiment are now with more money in their pocket, feeling safer and experiencing better mental health, and enjoying access to more stable and welcoming living environments. With studies like this showing positive results for universal income or universal basic income, is this something that we want to implement in most states that have a high homeless population? And if so, do we have a problem paying taxes for it? So let's go with Admiral Gibbs first.
Yeah, well, I absolutely 100% unequivocally have major problems with paying taxes for this program, and I cannot. Taxation is theft, So no, yeah, it's bad.
Gotcha. Alderdrazi.
So I think it's really, really smart that we're running these experiments in general. Obviously, they give people money and the city's doing better. I think that if you have people, like, we're already going to be paying for these people one way or another. If they don't have jobs and everything, like, the city's going to be paying out of it. But either way, the fact that we're running this is really good. As technology gets further and further advanced, we're going to see a lot of people displaced from their jobs. It's already happened with COVID. We're having more and more people who aren't going to be able to work as they get older with post-COVID symptoms and all that. We're going to have to figure out a way to keep people from dying in the streets. So we need these experiments, and I'm really glad to see that results are positive. And if you think that people not being homeless and all that is too big of a burden on your taxes, then I shouldn't have to pay taxes for us to murder people. So that's my take.
That could be an option. Ginger.
Well, I think in theory, and obviously the way that the study went, that it could be a good idea. However, I feel like in the majority, people who are poor have a hard time with money. That's just a simple fact. And these people that find homes, these people that found like permanent places to stay, will they stay permanent once they lose that money? Is there an incentive to have a a job while you're getting that money, or we just passing out money just to see what they do with it? So
Those are the questions. Jack, how do you feel about this?
Of course, Discord doesn't like using hotkeys anymore. Okay, so as I was about to say is, like, honestly, we understand that this works on a macroeconomic and microeconomic scale. We've been doing experimentation on this scale, not just in UBI, but in things that we termed micro loans throughout the world for the last 40 years. They produce economic growth in every region they are done in. They produce currency trajectory and currency velocity in those regions in a way that no other system does, to date. As far as like what money goes into paying for this, we at $1,000 a month, even when you're talking about the population of the United States, this would cost less than we pay in 1/4 for the average military acquisition purchases. We're not even talking paying people. We're talking just in buying just shit for like toiletries and all that types of shit. We spend more in a quarter on that than would solve this problem in the entire country.
Hey, Sprout.
I usually think that giving universal basic income is not going to assist, and is just going to prove to, especially with no oversight on it, is going to prove to make the problem worse. Because we're essentially giving a lot of money to people who are going to kind of use the money for the wrong purpose a lot of the times, because typically when people are homeless, not all the time, but typically when people are homeless, it seems to be that they have not the best money skills. So unless it's like determined down to like food, or unless it's determined down to like certain products that you can buy with it, I see this as a bad thing. But I definitely do think that like this thought process is moving us into the right direction. I just don't think that giving $1,000 a month with no restrictions on what that money could be used for is generally a bad thing.
Right. Seattle.
All right. So I can't believe y'all are so allergic to data that no one on this con side has looked at the study. When you look at the spending, like as little as $50 a month did reduce houselessness. It did reduce trips to the emergency room, time spent in jail. Like that's why we need to study UBI. Yes, you're going to have to like give of the plenty of our wealth, but look at the data. The more we spend on experimenting with this, and the more we kind of work out the factors, like are people, landlords, going to start rent seeking? Are like the services in that area going to sort of try and take advantage of this gift system? That's the real question. And so as long as we can study it and find out where the real moral hazards are in this kind of a system, then we can work towards a real final, a full solution to lift people out of poverty. I usually like to meme about full communism, but Jesus, you just need a tiny amount of giving in order to change someone's life. And that's what we're looking at here.
Thank you for that. Tiberius.
Yeah, there's a lot I can say regarding this topic. I'll just surmise it into this, and I'll hit it in the open after I am able to get back. But 2 points. One, on the micro scale, right? In these limited testing scenarios that we have, of course it has great benefits, right? The average American has constantly shown that just $100 extra a month would juice enormous benefits to them, because the Americans stretch paycheck to paycheck to paycheck all the fucking time. And just having just a little bit extra helps enormously. The problem is that when you apply this to the macro level, you unleash all kinds of problems. Now, a lot of my right-wing friends are going to talk about the taxes and the social responsibility, and I can go down that road too, but I'm not. I'm going to do basic economic principles. We don't have a demand problem in this country. We want to buy all the things all the fucking time. We have a supply problem in this country. This is why inflation's being out of control and being a pain in the ass. Until we fix that, UBI should be off the table, because all we're going to do is make it to where we're going to want to shovel even more money to buy the goods and services that we're all fighting tooth and nail to get as it is. We need better wages. We need better. We do need better income, but we need to look at this from a different structure until we actually make it to where Made in USA is actually reality. Anyway, I'll be back in about 15 minutes. I apologize, but I got to finish work.
Excellent. So let's open it up to how much
say a
money
bunch
should
of
we
shit
throw
and
at
then
it?
have to take out. Well, just like in all honesty, like the idea that like the anti-taxes and civic responsibility actually, are against this is fucking ridiculous, because quite literally we have done services like this in the past. You know, we didn't call it universal basic income, but it was fucking governmental assistance for housing, governmental assistance for money or for food, etc., through multiple fucking generations, long before the welfare system that we understand it today. We spend billions upon billions in corporate welfare to maintain the illusion that some of these companies actually have the ability to keep up the function that they will do, but we aren't willing to spend what would equate out to less than a quarter's worth of money that we spend on toilet paper and fucking goddamn cleaning agents to help people not starve to death or die of exposure. It is absolutely ridiculous that any type of civic responsibility goes against this idea.
No,
but
if you don't like paying for your
there
taxes
should
for it,
be
you can just.
there should be restrictions, right? Like there should be
Ralph
restrictions.
Andrazi.
So I don't think I'm not arguing that I'm not arguing against it in totality, but there should be restrictions. There should be restrictions on like what people are allowed to buy with this money, to keep it out of like, let's say buying cigarettes. Cigarettes isn't something you should be buying with this money. We can go on and on and on. Alcohol, like we can go on and on about what you probably shouldn't buy with this money, right? For example, this happened to me this past week. I reached out to the Red Cross for financial assistance, and the Red Cross gave me money, and that money isn't to be used on alcohol, tobacco, or firearms. So like, there should be some common sense restrictions when you are getting income based off of like financial assistance, that okay, you can't spend the money on these items because that's not what this money is intended for.
What about like gaming systems or
Well,
toys?
I would be
like
fine
toy-
with that.
toys for
I would be
yourself.
fine with adding gaming systems and stuff
No,
like that
no,
in too. as well.
but here's the thing. Like, as we have seen throughout the systems that we have put in place, where we had that level of means testing and restriction in place by putting it through cards that could only be used in certain places for certain things, so on and so forth. Well, what we found is that it still got spent on those things, and really
Yes.
all we ended up doing was spending a lot more money trying to police it and having zero effect on the process other than making it more convoluted and expensive. When we remove those restrictions, it's actually still spent on those things, yes, but at a lower rate, because now the people are no longer trying to circumvent the system to get things just on like a more preferable diet for them, because certain things that were so heavily restricted you couldn't buy even certain foods on the fucking the cards and shit. So
Well-
then they were having to try and circumvent around even that shit, and then because they were already violating the system, they were fucking making more money, sometimes as much as 2-to-1, buying food for somebody to get drugs, to get fucking cigarettes, to get, like, it ended up creating an external black market because of the restrictions that we then had to police, which cost 3 times as much as the project was supposed to be, which then became an argumentation for getting rid of the project altogether.
Yeah, that
Or
was
here's
one of the
the-
things I was
wait,
gonna
hold
say.
Hold on,
I have
Drazi's been trying to get in.
I have
Okay.
personally, when I was super broke, I would, my weed guy hooked me up with somebody who would let me buy their food stamps. They just go with me shopping, and I'd give them like, I pay 2-for-1s, but I'd always like tip them too. I wouldn't just do like straight 2-for-1. But I thought it was dope. They just like go with me. I wouldn't have to feel like shady using their card. So like it would be the exact same thing. But my original thing that I wanted to say was that if you don't want to pay for it out of your taxes, good news. You also get $1,000 a month. Put that aside and make sure that you're replacing your taxes with it. The taxes that you're spending on the UBI, well, you're going to get a lot. You're going to be getting money. So you can just reabsorb it. It's not that big of an issue then. The beautiful thing about UBI is that everybody gets it. It's fair. If you don't like that you're paying for it, well, cool. We're going to pay you to shut up about it. It's fair.
So you don't think that there should be any eligibility qualifications for people who are just handed money?
Should Bill Gates get
No.
$1,000 a month?
Yes,
Yes.
U.S. citizens or provable fucking indigents where they have no other option, i.e., homeless. I don't
That's what
care
makes
whether
it
you're a
fair.
citizen or not. If you are homeless, you should get it, and if you are a U.S. citizen, you should get it. I think that's pretty easy to. And the reason this people are going to be like, oh, we'll see a flood of homeless from other countries. No, we won't, because quite literally we already see those floods regardless of any programs due to the freaking preferable weather. It has nothing to do with any other services other than the fact that they can survive outdoors without dying of heat or freezing to death. Like, that's why we get that influx.
What if we literally just gave them cards and then basically monitored those cards and see where they're being spent at, and if they're being spent on
how about just a card that you can't pull money out, just cash, just doesn't matter, no restriction on what food that is spent on, just
I don't care what food. It's not,
and it can only be used at
not my concern.
And it can only be used at grocery store, clothing stores, etc. as necessary.
I'm not even concerned about what the stores that it can be used at. What I'm saying is we monitor the cards, and if there's a purchase of an item that was on the restriction list, right, then you're penalized the next month. You don't get as much the next month. There's some kind of penalty that goes along with that. It doesn't like
monitor that? Then I'll be getting cheap groceries. That's what
the government would be monitoring.
We're talking about who would you give that responsibility? Who would you give that responsibility to? Would you be creating a new agency or putting it under the auspices of a current agency?
I'd probably put it underneath the auspices of a current agency.
Okay.
Who
would I put it underneath? Let's see. Probably urban development.
But why not just FIA? They already do it. Food stamps and shit.
Yeah, food stamps.
FIA, or
urban development. Pretty much DPSS out right here.
All of those people are already overworked and have more clients than they can possibly handle. Like you would have to create like an entirely new job for people, which is fine because then it gives
let's do that.
Employment, but you couldn't ask for any of those government employees that they would task to put on them that they have any room to work with anybody else. Like, you know,
I agree with you, Ginger, and I'm glad you brought it up. Like, honestly, we overwork the shit out of them. We understaff these fucking systems. We underfund these systems on a regular basis. Another thing we honestly should fix, but that's slightly a different conversation. I would agree with you. We have to either create a new system or create a influx of new employees within a current system if we go by Sprout's idea. I wanted to understand what his idea was, so that like we could like argue going forward. Like,
doesn't solve the problem though. Like I said, if they do what Sprout says, that means I'm getting clothes and groceries at half off once again, like I did when I was in my 20s.
Let me ask. So first of all, I want to say one thing. First, I want to say microloans are not the same as UBI. That's a totally different thing. We can argue about that, but I want to say those need to be differentiated quite heftily. Like, one's just micro usury at some level, and yeah, I agree. Microloans do work from an economic standpoint. But the thing is, it's a loan. You get paid back with interest to an extent. Other thing is, first of all, you're talking about creating either new agency or working. Like, so first of all, you're not even talking about just universal income tax dollars. Now we're talking about tax dollars going to create a new agency. I don't know if you know anything about bureaucracy, and y'all were talking about the FIA or a new division at the FIA. I mean, which already does a terrible job with food stamps. I mean, like, it's just awful.
My first recommendation wasn't even the FIA, but okay, keep going.
Well, I was just someone said FIA.
It just tells me that you're not listening to what I'm saying.
I mean, you said urban planning. Your partner here said
urban
FIA.
Development.
Okay, we're really nitpicky on words. That's fine. But yeah, so the point is, though, like, we're going to have to add a new division to whatever agency. And then I don't know if you know anything about American bureaucracy, but it's not very efficient. So that's going to just drain more resources. You're going to have people taking advantage of this. And I mean, we got one study that says it's good. And I'm looking at like 4 studies right now that are saying that, like, in San Francisco and West California, it's not working as a plan. And we're actually creating more homelessness. So, I mean, we can sit here and debate the stats, but I mean, you're sitting here talking about doing this on a universal level across the United States, and it's going to turn into like the Weimar Republic with inflation.
Admiral Gibbs, can I? Oh,
Ginger, then Elder Drowsy.
Well, I can't. I just want to say that I'm not. I couldn't put my hand in a system that is teaching people who have no money to get loans, or even microloans. Like, the inflation on them is ridiculous, and there's no way a homeless person can pull themselves out of a out of a
Well,
loan like that.
this is where the slight misunderstanding is. The microloans that I was talking about were the things we have done internationally, and these were zero interest, no balloon payment, no set payment repayment date. Loans that we did. We're talking 100 to $1,000 given to individuals in places like the Horn of Africa, freaking Asia Minor, certain parts of Asia Major, oceanic regions, etc. And what this did was actually create a currency velocity within the community where, because money kept changing hands, it drew in other trade, which then drew in more money to the community, which then made the whole community flourish. It's the reason I tie it to the reason for I tie it to them together is because the whole idea behind universal basic income is based on the projections of the models that we use in the previous experience of microloans in third world countries.
I mean,
Okay.
I think that microloans do work, but I think it's a very different concept. When you're looking at the United States, we're already like a flush country, relatively compared to say, like Africa, which you see. I've seen examples of them giving out $5 and $10 loans, and they're able to create whole businesses and stuff from that. And it's crazy. It does work, but I think the difference is you have a large area with cash flowing into an area where they don't have any like cash value for their currency, so you're not gonna get this inflation like you will like here in the United States. So I think it's a totally different animal.
Well, and this system would work more so in rural areas than it would in like a huge city that's going to cost a fortune to even live there. I mean, the majority of homeless people flock to huge cities so that they can get more money. They make more money in urban areas than they do in, rural areas. That's also easier for them to get to grocery stores and hospitals and stuff like that in bigger cities. There's more help for those people anyways. So giving said people $500 or $1,000 a month again is going to build them up until it's taken away. If that makes any sense. Like
At what point is it taken away?
it's not well it's just an experiment at this point. If the idea that you're giving free $1,000 to people, when does that stop? When does the $1,000 stop for them? Does it ever stop, or we just all get it?
You just get it
They're
forever.
saying that
Oh
no
my
one
God.
stops. It never stops, which would be like insane because you're talking about a $12,000 per year UBI.
Entitlement is
would-
insane here.
A $12,000 year per year UPI would cost the government $2.4 trillion annually if it's given to each citizen. I don't think that people who
Wait,
are doing fine
You only counting
need
adult
UBI.
citizens?
I don't think Bill Gates needs UBI. I don't think
I-
Jeff Bezos needs UBI. I don't think Elon Musk needs UBI. And we can definitely create some kind of like arbitrary line to where it's like, okay, if you make over, I don't know, $150,000 a year, then you don't need the extra $12,000 a year that UBI would give you. Like I'm saying 150,000 is just number that's coming off the top of my head. I
Such
see
a
you're shocked.
huge number. Like it would be $60,000 would make more sense because it's like
Okay, I'm being very
nobody-
generous. I'm
it's
being very
such- But it's
generous.
such a small percentage of the population that makes over $100,000.
I'm
like-
being generous. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's just there's got to be a cap somewhere, and it's got to be somewhere like.
I also want to bring up
Why?
the 2.7, the $2.4 trillion that it would take from the U.S. government is also 1/8 of our annual GDP. So you'd be taking 1/8 of the gross domestic product.
So we're
for the United
taking
States to do
1/8 of
this.
money that we already don't have.
The
Yeah.
fun thing is that it is going to go back into the economy, though.
Yeah,
But
it
half
goes
of
back
nothing
into the
is still
economy,
nothing.
in the wrong way. The government doesn't care how it goes back into the economy, so they don't give a damn if the homeless spend it on stuff that's
If
frivolous
the
or
government
they
does
lose
care
it.
how it goes into the economy, now we're talking about what, social planning? No, we don't want that. We want people to be able to elevate
I'm
themselves. We want to be able to
saying
stimulate
There's no
the economy at the same
incentive to push
time.
these people to save money for homes or anything. There's nobody teaching them how to build their money up, their credit up. Has anybody on the panel been homeless?
Yeah, I have.
Have you lost all of your credit? Did your credit score just completely drop? Do you have
I
the
had bad
debt-
credit before I was 18 due to my mom taking out things in my name and not paying for them. Sure.
Well, then you've dealt with the similar situations that I have. You know
and I've also
that the
taken
majority
financial planning classes as well.
Exactly, but the majority of people cannot get themselves out of debt. The majority of people do not find a way to solve that problem because the government works against it. They don't care how you spend their money as long as they get it. As long as it's cycling in and out, they don't care if you're spending it on food. They don't care if you're spending it on drugs. They just want the money well, and of course they spend it on buy your weed in a store. That's what they want you to do.
They want it
Tax it.
circulating.
I kind of half agree with that statement because there's levels to where, like, I would say the government kind of doesn't care, but it comes off more as incompetence than it does blatant disregard. And the way that I put this is, we have Social Security, we have food stamps, we have Medicare, we have Medicaid, we have all these government programs that is about what we do with our money, where we're putting it, how we're trying to like tip the scales in particular balance. Now, I'm 100% behind most of the right in saying, hey, you know what? The government's just trying to do way too fucking much. It can't handle trying to shove, $5 trillion through its coffers and making sure that every penny counts. It's terrible at it. It's just too much. But I can't really just go with the thing that it's like no one cares about where it goes. Like, it's very clear to me, we all give a shit about where it goes.
Well, no,
it's just we all
no.
disagree on where it should go.
People like us care. The government doesn't. If the government did care, they wouldn't have let the housing crisis happen when all of them knew that it was about to happen. That is the leading cause of homelessness all over America. Amount.
Wait.
No.
It's a bunch of rich people in office.
Let her finish.
Themselves.
Let her finish.
The housing crisis with the subprimes, that was all government based that forced these people into believing that they could afford the houses that they could not afford. So people thinking that, the government said over and over again, there's no way the housing crisis could possibly happen because there's no way people will default on their mortgages because they have to have a place to live.
That wasn't the government's fault. That was the
wait. Let me reply to this. Like, on one side of this, like, there is a part where the government did have, like, tax breaks for, like, middle income families to get better homes, that kind of thing. And I don't actually think that was a mistake. I'm going to push back. What really definitely did happen is that we had a string of deregulation back in the 1990s with the repeal of Glass-Steagall, among other things, to where banks were playing it really fast and loose with a lot of the norms that we took for granted. And it got so bad that they were literally just shoveling out money in loans to people they absolutely knew could not pay them back because they knew they were going to make more money off the interest rates and then repoing the house.
Right.
And we had that for 5 years.
That's not exactly true. So what happened was that banks would take in these loans. Also, in addition to them just taking in these loans, they were also lending out like 35 times their reserve currency. So like when a bank gives you a loan, they usually don't take it out of their like physical currency that they have. They just create new money on top of it and they loan that out. That's how fractional reserve banking works. They do that. And then when they sell the shitty loan that they know isn't going to get repaid back, they take the rights to this loan and they create derivatives. They chop it up into a bunch of little pieces and they sell it off to people. So the bank now has their money for the loan. They don't give a shit. This is what caused the housing crisis. That they sold it out into like basically stocks on this loan that people could buy, and they don't care. They'll take as many as they can because they're making money off that loan. They're repaid with more money on top of it. As soon as it happened, they let that shit go. It's not the government's fault. This is shady bankers doing shady ass banking stuff because people don't know how fucking banking works. And then I hear people talk about it, and it shows me that people don't know how fucking banking works. It's a crazy thing that happened. The government's fault was that they bailed these motherfuckers out after they scammed us all, and we had to pay the tab. And I'm saying if we can pay the tab for these motherfuckers to scam the shit out of people, make people lose the houses that they shouldn't have been lending them out to begin with, maybe we can get some money to fucking people who, are getting fucked by life on a daily basis.
We could just lose 1/8. We could just lose 1/8 of the national GDP per year, and on a
wait. Look, I want getting back to what Riz was saying. Yeah, look, just getting back to what Riz was saying, he's like 80% of what he said, I 100% agree with, right? Derivatives should be fucking illegal, straight up. All it is white collar money laundering. That's all it fucking is. When it comes to what was going on with the housing market, that I think is the more nuanced part, is that you had a lot of these banks know straight up that they could, the loans that they were giving couldn't be paid back. They would get, 3 months, 6 months, a year, they would get money back plus the interest, and they weren't out shit because they just go back and repo the house. And that happened for over and over again for a good 5 years, starting like in 2003, when this scheme really starts going. And like, there's a reason why it all went to shit. It's literally like, I can just go, oh, capitalism, greed, but it's far more than that. It's complete negligence on the behalf of bankers and loanees to know what is feasible. And so, yeah, I will point the fingers at everybody.
Yeah.
What I really get pissed off with is that, what is it? Was it Dodd-Frank that we put in 2009 that we've already repealed? Like the same shit that was supposed to keep us from happening again, we've already repealed it.
But no
Like-
one's. I don't think. I just. I
Yeah, it
don't
was
think anyone's-
reintroduced in 2013 though. Like these subprimes are being shoved again into mortgages.
Right.
I just.
And then we still bailed out Silicon Valley Bank. Like, how are we not? Like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to TOS the fuck out of that one. I'm just surprised that there isn't a particular halftime show during the Super Bowl that may include bankers having an untimely end. Okay, like I'm just shocked that hasn't happened at this point.
Well, see,
Well, I'm just.
and I'm sorry, Sprout. Go ahead.
You're good. I'm just surprised that no one's discussing this yet. Is that during the 2000 up to the 2008 housing market crash, people were a large amount of people were taking out adjustable rate mortgages, which is actually what led to a lot of people losing their houses, is because they took the adjustable rate mortgages, which started off with a lower percentage rate, so they thought like, oh, lower interest rate, so it's gonna be easier. It's gonna be easier for me to pay off. Lower interest, that's great. And then all of a sudden those rates took a spike, and then all of a sudden people were like, oh, I can't afford that. I can't afford that amount anymore. And then they couldn't afford their houses because the interest rate spiked, and now they're sitting there with so much interest on their monthly payment. They're like, I can't afford the payment anymore.
So the problem with this is the fact that the people who were supposed to be pros at it were teaching these people the wrong way because they made more money off of it that way. So like the people that were selling homes, selling the mortgages and stuff, they were telling them they were getting prime mortgages, they were getting prime this, where they're secretly shoving subprime into the mortgages. So people like immigrants and people who are already really bad with money are the people that are getting these mortgages. Okay, they're being told these are good for you because it's low this, low that, and you won't have to pay so monthly.
I had to try. Okay, so I got my home in 2006. I had to reach. I had just started my new job. It wasn't yet 6-figure job. It was we're talking like not the best job. My credit was bad. It was my first home. I had to reach to get a prime loan. I know that there are a lot of people who are in that situation who didn't necessarily have subprime. But what are we talking about? We are going over theory. I might as well tell everyone here to read Karl Marx, because that's the only way you have to understand economics, because you're not talking about the data. You're talking about theory.
Oh my God.
So do you want to talk about theory? I'm going to lecture you about read Marx, read Das Kapital, or we can talk about the data that came out of this study.
All right, we'll talk about the data then. You've been talking about
Right.
the data, but
Well,
refuse to bring
real
the
quick,
actual
real
data
quick,
up.
Drazi,
Let's do it. It was
Drazi had
linked
something he
in the
wanted to get in.
chat.
So one second. Go ahead, Drazi.
No, talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
We will.
just preface what I was saying by, I ain't talking about theory of shit. I've been correcting shit that I've heard that's wrong, and I never even got
Good.
to ask Admiral
I haven't brought
Gibbs
a theory up
if he's a libertarian, because it sounds like if it is, then I can better communicate with you. Okay, well that's wild. You for a non-libertarian, you sure know the songs. Okay.
Well, if you want my background, I'll give you my background real quick. I'm a Texas conservative, right? So, and we've been here since the Revolution. We have a very, libertarian streak to a republicanism, but I'm closer to, a Bush, neocon, warhawk kind of guy than a true libertarian.
Okay,
Jesus
closet
Christ,
libertarian.
that's a lot of
Big
gross
difference.
words in a row. Okay, I want to say that Sprout's right.
I knew that would get somebody.
I knew that Sprout was right when he was talking about the kinds of people that are getting these loans. They were not addressed to people as how they were variable rate loans. Seem really, really good. They always start off really low. People, as Ginger said, really don't know that much about finance. And when you get people into this, you have people that are applying for a loan. When you're applying for a mortgage loan, all you want to hear is a yes. You have your whole family's waiting on you to come back with that yes. There's a ton of pressure on you. You got to get this fucking loan. If you're applying, you have one goal, and it's to get it. And then when it looks like you can afford it, you're not running all these numbers in your head. I don't think most people are emotionally capable of doing that. And so they say yes, and then they do get fucked. And the thing that I haven't heard anybody say is that these rates didn't, like, banks know when you're not going to be able to pay them when they change these rates. Like, it's your bank. They know how much money you're making and all that. This was very calculated.
And
They
a
knew that they were
fixed
going to be
rate
kicking people
mortgage.
out.
Wait,
Fixed
wait,
rate
wait, wait,
mortgages,
wait, wait.
people.
People don't get
Look,
fixed rate mortgages when they're not good with money.
It's all theory.
I want to split difference here. On one side is that I don't think people are too stupid to like understand this shit. The problem is that they do the salesman tactic to you, to where like they make you wait forever and ever and ever, and then they give you 4,000 pages of fucking paperwork. Literally, I've seen my home loan documents. It's fucking
Yeah.
ridiculous. And they're just like, hey, you trust us, right? You're not gonna actually read this because you don't need just yourself to do it. You need a fucking lawyer that pays like $160 an hour to go through that and see if you're getting screwed.
We're talking. I mean, this talk is mostly about interest rates. These interest rates aren't like hidden inside of these inside because I have my mortgage papers. My mortgage papers is like an inch high,
Look,
just stacked of papers, but and they're legal size papers. But at the same time, like we're talking about interest rates, right? Like these interest rates aren't hidden
Proud.
somewhere in the middle.
Like, I love you, man. Like, I didn't want to beat up on you, but since you're going to make me, I will. Like, 2008 was not nearly an interest rate problem. That's literally 1980 is the year you're looking for, where people got really fucked on that. Like, 2008 was literally just, hey, let
So
money
you're
printer
saying
go.
adjustable rate mortgage had little to nothing to do with the 2008 housing market crash. That's what you're gonna say.
Yeah. It's literally like 5% of all the bankruptcies that happened that year.
Before we go on to the next one, can I say to Admiral Gibbs what I wanted to say after finding out if he's libertarian?
Sure.
He is a libertarian. He said Texas Republican.
I know. So I want to appeal to the libertarian in you and say that when you see all these other studies that say that it's bad and the ways they did it in the other places, that's the beautiful thing about America. We have 50 states that can run individual experiments, and we can go with the ones that were successful. We don't have to repeat the mistakes of the ones that ended up being bad. Why don't we build off of the one that they did in Denver, since it was successful, and try that in other areas and see if we can reproduce the same successful results?
According to Business Insider, adjustable rate mortgages played a key role in the housing bubble that gave rise to the 2008 housing crash. Leading up to the implosion, many subprime lenders enticed borrowers with interest-only adjustable rate mortgages. An adjustable mortgage that initially only requires interest payments rather than including both principal and interest. Adjustable rate mortgages definitely played a key role in the 2008 housing market crash. Don't come at me and say it didn't play a key role.
No, I am, dude. I am because I will fight you on this way because I studied in this shit. Like, the reality is straightforward here. Like the dynamics of what you're saying out is 100% correct, right? In the regards that, like, hey, you have variable mortgage, you pay 2% this year. Oh shit! All of a sudden, I'm paying 4% next year, right? That can fuck people. I'm not going to act like you have any wrongdoing in saying that. The problem is every time I've actually gone through the fucking data, it was hardly ever that situation. Literally, interest rates were in the fucking tank from 2003 onward. Like, we're literally talking under 4% at the time, which was ridiculously low. Like, people were used to paying 8, 10.
Jump on you unexpectedly.
Well, someone look over the data, because I'm pretty sure it only went up for the prime rate, like literally 0.75. Right before
what are we arguing about?
I was gonna say
the adjustable rate mortgages. The adjustable rate mortgage. First off, that's a lot. But the adjustable rate mortgages. They also bankers started offering adjustable rate mortgages that was just the minimum payment was literally just the interest. It contained no principal. So when you're paying the minimum payment for your mortgage, you're literally just giving the bank money, and you're not paying off any part of your house. Adjustable rate mortgages played a key role in the 2008 market crash.
I didn't ask.
I'm
here to talk about UBI. I'm here to talk about it seriously.
Soyato's been chomping at the bit to get this data out here, so let's go ahead and add this data to the pool.
Right. No, this is the data you should have. This was linked in the original, the prompts. So this is the report, the DBIP interim quantitative report, and this is talking about a 6-month follow-up. So there's Ginger. There's your data about, did this disappear? And so there's all sorts of stuff coming in here. The thing that I really liked was when we talk about the thing that costs cities services, I'll search for alcohol. We get into all of the bad effects. So these are things that you are already paying for. You are paying for rides to the hospital. You're paying for stays in jail. You're paying for nights at a shelter or at a drug treatment center. And so all of these groups went down in a lot of these. So, visits to the ER, ambulance rides. This was the $1,000 group. That's the big money group. But even down in the C group, we have some improvement. And here's the one that you might be able to needle me on is the nights at a substance treatment center for $50 went up slightly. So yeah, that's bad. But we're looking at less crime, less visits to the ER, and overall for the A and the B groups, a massive improvement. And people actually shifting into supportive or permanent housing over the long run. So again, what Elder Dazi and I'm saying is this is an experiment. Let's keep it going. Let's find out where those hazards are related to this. You can't just theory bro, and trust me, it's bad because taxes. Let's talk about the results. Go ahead.
So it's the $2.4 trillion it would take to give it to every single citizen.
No,
would be the same as as paying today's. Wait 1 second, which would be the same as paying today's Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, education, transportation, justice, and federal retirement domestic programs.
Sprout,
all those programs
blah, blah.
inside the $2.4 trillion that would be spent on UBI.
Blah.
I
don't think it goes forever.
Claims because everything that he just listed off, almost all the things that he just listed off, are things that you, I, and everyone on this panel who's gainfully employed are already paying for. If you are homeless, I'm paying for your ER transportation.
So
I'm paying for your trip
system
there.
Goes away?
What do you mean the justice system goes away? I'm saying that when I give somebody $1,000, if they stop making emergency room trips, if they stop making all these things, if they stop having to engage with all these things that's costing me tax dollars, well, then that's a reduction on the burden of the UBI itself.
So is the $1,000 going to make Medicare, Medicaid, is it going to make those disappear? Because
this is a different problem.
I'm saying
the burden on it will be reduced.
The price of UBI per citizen, if you give it to every single citizen, is equal to all the things I just mentioned, right?
Do you think people that have $1,000 a month that can afford their basic needs are going to have to make as many emergency room trips?
One second. Thank you. So when you're talking and you're saying, oh, it makes it go down. Okay, so we're paying the same. We're doubling the price of it, right? And then how far does it go down? If we double the amount of time, double the amount of money we're spending on this, how much does that actually go down?
It's a false choice. It's a false choice because we're not going to extend this up to infinity. This is absolutely ridiculous.
That's what he's arguing for.
Okay, so go ahead. I'm out then.
Well, that's what we're doing though. Is we're arguing whether or not it should be extended, whether it should be there or not. Like you spouting data doesn't help the move forward, does it?
Okay, so let's move away from the ridiculous scenario. And the real scenario is where we develop a program like this as we discover these bad factors that factor in, where people are going to be, you're going to look at inflation, you're going to look at rent seeking for people literally paying the UBI to the landlord. That's bad. That's why I'm not like a yang ganger, because I know that landlords are just going to suck it all up. So we've got to have supportive public housing. We've got to have basic food. And we've got to have all of these services built out that will, keep people out of the margins. It's called the donut economy. It's take everyone who has too little in the middle and too much on the outside and move them into that squishy, meaty part that we all think that everyone should live in.
So I kind of want to respond to the first question I got asked earlier before we started going back to the housing crisis. So yeah, as Texan, I'm going to say, I don't have a problem with places doing these experiments where they want to do them. If it's not here and if the population of that area wants to do the experiment, let them do it. I mean, it's their choice as a voting population to vote the policies in that they want. That's not something I have a problem with. But I do have a problem with this. Whenever you say that, what happens is we take like one isolated experiment, like this one in Denver, or we can take the one in Vancouver, which is also says the same thing basically as the Denver one, and say, wow, these programs work. But then we're going to look at places like San Francisco, and we're not going to talk about how bad things are in San Francisco right now, how the homeless population has increased, how the crime rate has gone way up, or East Hollywood, where it's the exact same stats. And we're going to say, oh, those are misnomers or those are outliers. And those are two. We have two, exact examples that we can look at and say, hey, the data here is not a theory thing. We can see that these two cities, this has not worked. We can look at Detroit where they have similar programs. It doesn't work. We can come here,
What?
And,
When did San Francisco's UBI program start?
last year, December 2022.
If they're having bad
I see.
results, can't we look and say like, well, what are they doing differently? And we can kind of compare and see what sort of
But
factors might
my
be the
problem
cause
is
and-
this: is not that we can look at what's differently. Is that we've totally? It seems like so far we've totally ignored that for the sake of one study that said, "Hey, this is working," and that's kind of where I'm having the issue here. Is
But
because if we're looking at,
What I said to you
one micro,
acknowledges the other ones. I said, then why don't we have all these different experiments can be ran in different states, and why don't we try to emulate the ones that are good and see if we can replicate those results? By
just
saying that, I
don't-
was acknowledging the ones that aren't going good. I'm saying, yeah, don't fucking do that then if it's going bad. Do the ones that
Well,
work.
The big thing that I have a problem with is it's just straight up on principle, right? I get the point of this is the argument of a rising tide lifts all boats, right? We're just trying to make sure people have more money to spend so they can cover their basic expenses. On a moral level, I get that, right? The problem that I have in economics is that most people kind of get lost for the forest and the trees regarding we're not going to actually target a specific market to actually try to push it up or down as much as we're just now trying to blanket basement everything to the point where, hey, you know what? You're covered, under all these circumstances. We don't actually take a scalpel to it. And I know I'm talking a lot of metaphor, but I'll simply say this. Having a national conversation about universal health care, that's going to be a hard conversation. But having a national conversation about universal cancer care is a different conversation. Limited in scope, more practical approach. We can actually do the math on some of these things and find out where they're wrong or right. What I'm my issue with UBI really is just down to it's trying to it's trying to fill a lake with a fucking bucket. And it's just eventually you're going to do it, but you're going to flood half the terrain with it. And then
also, something I don't think it needs. I mean, to back that up, to kind of steelman that, something that I don't think anyone's really brought up yet is that we saw what happened with the COVID payments, with the free money you got with COVID. Prices of food went up. The prices of damn near everything went up. And
that was a small part
was
of
that
the
COVID?
inflation. That was a small part of the inflation. Most of it was supply chain issues.
There you go.
And
Getting
there's
cut
a
off
couple
from
other.
resources.
It wasn't just supply chain issues too. But that was a huge chunk of it. But about 15% of inflation was caused by COVID payments. Overwhelmingly, COVID payments were seen as an insanely good success by if we're talking from an economic standpoint, it was fucking awesome. If you're talking about helping people at an individual level, fucking awesome. Inflation fucking sucks, but we can see a lot of individual actors who help contribute to inflation, but it's mostly caused by supply chain issues and that big fucking boat getting stuck. That really fucked things up for a long time.
What's the inflation gonna look like? What's the inflation gonna look like when you do this over and over and over and over and over again? You annually. Was this annually?
Wait, that's a ridiculous theory example again. We're talking about starting with experiments, starting with stuff that works.
I can address that.
I want to follow up on the Los Angeles County thing because this UBI is ridiculous. The LA County UBI, which was mentioned, that only is for foster kids, and so you have to be above 21, under 24 in 2023. So this is the new requirement, maybe. But yeah, so we've got different. Is not apples to apples. We got different programs here, and some of them work and some of them don't. We need to dig into the details of why.
Yeah, that's kind of what I want to ask, just for clarification see what y'all are arguing here is. So I know we're talking about universal income, but I guess let me ask this: are y'all saying we're going to do this? We're going to have no restrictions on what they spend it on? Is because I feel like some people said that, and then other people said no. So I just want to see, is that kind of what y'all are saying?
I mean, on Colorado study.
Sorry.
So the Colorado study, the people in the A and the B groups overwhelmingly spent their money to lift themselves out of poverty. They paid off debts, they fixed their cars, they got themselves an apartment. So you're indirectly asking, so how do we restrict it? Maybe the answer, and
the previous discussion was there's so much waste in government bloat in restricting and needling people about how they spend the money. Just look at people who really need the money. What did they spend it on? And start there. Start with what they really spent it on, and then we can find out what works, and then we can fine tune the system after that.
I'll actually defend that to some degree. One of the biggest things that we did see after just in the COVID payments was the biggest three things that people spent their money on that they had extra was paying down debt, medical bills, and I apologize, I can't remember what the third one is, but I know it's a pretty big deal. There is a reality to this where I'm not just gonna like tell the people who are pro UBI that they don't have a point, right? My problem generally is that I want to be a lot more targeted. Y'all remember Clash for Clunkers back in the day? I know some of the folks are a little young for this one.
The best government program of all time.
Yes, it fucking was.
Yeah.
And I want more shit like that. I want programs that are like, hey guys, we do it for a little bit of a time. We allocate like a couple $1 billion or however much you want to earmark for it. And it's like, hey, look, we recognize our cars are old. They're not running as well as they used to. We're going to give people like, a bump to like get better cars, get more efficient cars, that kind of shit. Instead, we're doing the exact opposite to where the EPA comes in and tells you, oh, you need this feature, this feature, this feature, and this feature, which now increases the cost of the car by $10,000. And now no one can afford it, even though it gets 35 miles to the gallon. Like, why do we do everything wrong? It's so dumb.
In all honesty, if instead of UBI, we wanted to give people in waves vouchers for fuel efficient and or like hybrid cars, I'd be super fucking for that. You want to give people to help get them around so that they can get employment better. And plus bring jobs back to our automotive plants. Like it hits our economy in like every way positively, and it helps the individual dramatically. It even saves them money when they buy gas too. It's like an insanely good program.
Once again, is we just give them the money and then we just give it to them and they can do whatever they want. Is that what we're saying? Yes or no?
No, we're talking about cars now. But
I know what we're talking about, but I didn't ever get an answer. So I want this. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe. That's the answer is maybe.
So can we have a raise of hands who thinks that it should go towards anything they want? And who thinks there should be stipulations on what they're allowed to buy?
I think Jock's hand is up.
Yeah, it should
systematically. We need some
sense.
We need some kind of systematic allocation, and maybe what we have right now is too complex.
I mean, like Jack said, if you put restrictions on what you can buy for it, then it's just going to create like a secondary market where people like me are going to buy your food stamps off of you. So that way you can buy something you're not supposed to buy.
Okay, but the thing is that people are going to go against the rules are going to go against the rules no matter what.
Right, so it's hurting them.
Why are we making? But it's so stupid. So because they can't follow the rules, like.
Here's the thing. I have values. If everybody should get $1,000, I don't think that my value should influence what the fuck they're going to spend their money on. If I'm like, oh, well, I don't think that you should be able to spend this money on beer. I don't give a fuck if you spend it on beer. Then you know what? Then I'm glad they're getting $1,000 instead of going and robbing shit and stealing from people. No more reducing mugging people and shit.
They will as soon as that $1,000 is out because they spent it in a day.
So you're predicting failure. Ooh. You're predicting failure.
All of this is a prediction, whether it works out or not. Is it not?
No, because we have the data.
No.
The 6 month follow-up.
Yeah. So the theory is whether or not it'll work out in multiple cities.
Entire city.
It's
not the data for the entire nation.
It's a theory.
We iterate on the experiment. We find out what works, what doesn't. Given money to kids who just came out of foster care, looks like it doesn't work. Given money to people who live in Colorado, looks like it might.
So yeah, that's like saying it worked anecdotally, so it must work.
No, I'm saying that we're not following the prescriptions today when we don't have data, but we're seeing in some cases this is fantastic. There are cases they do exist. We can fine tune it.
Just the data.
I just want to point out, is it crazy that foster kids couldn't handle money? Some of the most traumatized young adults in the entire nation are going to have a hard time spending money, and then when you just broad stroke give it to people in Denver, they did better. It seems like it's common sense.
Most people who are homeless are traumatized in some way or another.
Yeah, foster kids have a pretty typical brand of trauma.
And most of the foster kids end up homeless.
Okay.
Cool data.
I don't know that data.
That is actual data. Let me
I mean,
send
it's,
it to you.
we got
I'm not
one on the
saying-
I'm glad I
screen
was
and the
homeless instead of
other.
a foster kid. Let's just put it that way.
I'm not saying a believe or
Same.
disbelieve. I'm like, I actually don't know the data on that one. Look, here's the part. I don't know the data for this particular one. I'm sorry. I have been working 70 hours a week for the last fucking month. I haven't had time.
Ew.
What I can say though is I have seen the data on particularly the Finland one, and I think I think there was a Canadian one that I looked into. There's a lot of those things that comes into like the left-wing dream ticket of, hey, we're solving all these problems. Let's go, boys. UBI. My issue is largely what we saw with the child tax credit. If you all remember this, right? We basically gave people stipends, and we almost eliminated child poverty. And a lot of people were like, victory, hooray! But then it ended. And what did we see after the end of that? Childhood poverty came back, and we're actually getting back to the exact same rates that we are now. Now, the left will say, hey, look, reinstitute the program because, it worked. It was successful. I don't know if this is just the evil right-winger in me, but I'm like, no, you didn't actually fix anything. You put a Band-Aid over the motherfucker. Like, we need a different solution, and while we can debate on the efficacy of this, yeah, I think mom and dad should be paying more, which is why I'm like, hey, you know what?
Yeah,
we
the
Republicans.
only way that we fix it in that way is that we then regulate it on the corporate side that they actually have to pay people commensurate with the cost of living increases necessary, as we have not actually seen a actual parity on since 1973.
I don't disagree. Okay. Well, part of that I might disagree on. So the analytical
Then
point.
you're disagreeing with math.
How about you wait until I finish before you tell me? All right. First of all, I don't disagree with the analytical point of like everything has started to go to shits in 73. Like we started putting up our trade deficit in 73. While also like destroying unions. Like anything that we possibly could have done to fuck over the American worker has been done since 73. Like straight up. Automation actually really starts kicking off with the first chip, I believe, literally that year. So let me table that part because we agree on it. The part where I have concerns is I'm sorry, I actually probably should have wrote it down because I'm losing my mind. The part that I have concerns with largely just goes into the fact that I agree that we can ID the problem point here. I will float with you a compromise that I believe instead of having a corporate tax rate, you have a corporate minimum wage, something that is significantly more than just the average minimum wage, where it's like, hey, look, I'm a social conservative. I believe that you have a responsibility. If we are going to give you limited liability to prosecute your business, then you owe us something back. I don't want your taxes because that makes you uncompetitive. I want you to be taking care of your workers to a higher standard than the mom and pop shops because I fucking know you can, looking at you, Walmart.
Oh, that's really nice. It's very rare that I hear a really big brain conservative take from a conservative that instead of taxing bigger businesses, you could just give them tax incentives to do the right thing with that money instead and give it back to the workers or enrich their workers through like insurance or something like that. Because they'll do it if you say, "Hey, we won't tax you if you do this." They could be the same fucking amount, and corporations just fucking hate taxes to no end. So they'll give that money straight to their worker instead.
I'm 100 behind this. I have openly said the big. This is where I get in some trouble with some folks. I don't want Social Security. I want them to take that 3% they take out of my paycheck to go to the Social Security fund and make sure that every American either gets an IRA or a 401k from that 3% that the employer is just mandated to fix. That cuts out literally 60% of the federal budget that we don't have to fucking worry about anymore. And we, at least by every data point that I've ever seen, you're looking at an 8-fold increase of wealth just on historical trend.
Yeah. We wouldn't have to worry
Speaking
about
of data
it if they
points,
kept their hands off of it.
That
speaking of data
$10,000
points.
of engine improvements for your car, that's paid off in 2 years with gas savings today.
I've actually been trying to do some math on if it's worth me getting a hybrid for my next car. Because there's some of it definitely goes very strongly, but
hybrids
they'll tell you
rough
how
on
much
maintenance.
it costs
Yes,
minus
they
gas price. It's really
Right.
cool.
Well,
IRAs are tricky for me.
I'm sorry, what was that, Ginger?
IRAs.
Oh, IRAs are just a tricky thing for most people.
They are, and like, don't get me wrong. There's some levels to where I would very much like people to have more literacy on this. By the way, Roth is the way to go, in my opinion. But when it comes down to it, I think that the general return off of just an IRA or a mutual fund savings account, any of these things, would absolutely get people a higher return in the long run. And it would be yours. Like, it's in a fucking account where it says, "Hey, this is yours." Not the government can say, "Hey, we don't like you anymore. We're taking it away."
Okay, so for the 401ks, my one of my chatters brought this up is
Sure.
like for the 401ks, if the market goes down, that means that you are likely to pull out less when the market goes down. Is that right?
That is the real drawback from it. There's more security with there's more security in general with Social Security. The problem is that if you look at how much you would get from Social Security, depending on how long you live, obviously that's a big factor. But if you look at how, like, the general return of the money that you get, you either, let's just say you die at 73, right? You die early, right?
Mhm.
All of that, even with say you had to check out of the market at a certain point in which it was down, and you were down 40% of what you could have had, you're still got a shitload of money compared to what you would have had because it's in an account, right? It's not where it just the money train comes off whenever Social Security goes away because you died. It's still there, and you can pass it on to your children. Like, for me, there is so many more positives than negatives on this one because even if you cash out later, you're gonna have way more money.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong with the as well as with the 401ks. Isn't it
Mhm.
like only like productive? For the lack of a better term, I can't think straight right now. I wonder why. Um, the
Cool.
son of a bitch! I just lost my train of thought making that joke. I'm so
It was
401k
worth it.
is productivity.
there we go. So isn't it only really useful to you? You gain more money, or you gain actual money, is when the job is putting or matching what you put into it.
Well, that's kind of the kicker here,
And that's
is that
hard for most jobs.
it depends. Like, there's plenty of jobs that can do it. There's plenty of companies that don't offer it, which absolutely have the ability to do it.
Yeah.
What really kicks me here is that, a lot of it's elective. You can engage with it or not at your own leisure. And while I know this would piss off some people, particularly economic righties, is that, like, if you just mandated 3%, the same thing that's taken out of your fucking taxes, and just trade it out, like, I've already done the math just on historical norms. I am going to have over $1 million when I retire, just from, like, the little bits that I'm able to pull out of 3% out of each check, versus my Social Security. Even when I account for inflation, at best, and I live to 90.
Yeah, Social Security is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I pulled like 250, like, for all of that time.
Yeah,
It's
there's so many people who think, like, at a young age that they can retire off their Social Security income, and
it's fucking garbage.
It's a sad story, to be fair. It's just
What here's where I really, like, flip the table for a lot of folks. The one thing I think government actually is decent at is anything that requires the law of large numbers, and unfortunately, that's what we call insurance. So I've actually said, if anyone wants to do the clean sweep, let's dump Social Security and give everyone fucking or socialized healthcare or public healthcare. We would still make way better returns off of that. Just taking care of everybody.
I am for the public health care. Actually, I'm for that way more than I actually am the cash. Like,
Right.
that it would solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, but also a lot of
and-
old people would starve to death and die.
But they'd be healthy.
Yeah, like,
Well,
are they gonna go to the hospital every day so they can get free food paid for
Two-
by
two-
their
yeah,
health
right.
care?
No, but
Two sides
but
of this.
Do you know how much money would be saved if you weren't putting $500 to $600 into healthcare? If you don't have a job, like,
Yeah, two sides of that.
Old people have
Like,
Medicare though.
yeah, like, no. Well, this is actually the
whatever one it
kicker.
is.
Like,
Medicare.
the literally the last time I checked, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, 65% of Social Security payments go back into, I believe it's Medicare, to actually pay for the supplemental insurance they need for their own insurance. So they're still kicking it back into medical anyway. Number two, and just because I always have to do it, if we have to, like, make the boomers suffer, I'm all for it, boys. Let's
We're not talking
fucking
about
go.
suffering. We're talking about killing them. We're talking about taking away money that provides them
I don't
the
think you
ability to
understand.
live.
Tiberius is okay with that.
But you know, okay, but
I'm memeing a little bit here, but
we're disregarding so many things that it would benefit people who end up with cancer, people who have diabetes, who are on the streets, who can't afford their health care, so they lose their foot, or they get holes in their body, or whatever. Like, there's so many things healthcare wise that people end up on the streets for, or end up dying
I don't like
on
that
the
it's the
streets
one or
for.
the other.
I'll drop
though.
the memes. Look, I'll drop the memes. I think there is absolutely a reasonable part here where even though we'd have to write the checks and put it on the credit card, we can do a transitory thing where basically if you're going to retire within the next 15 years, you'll get your Social Security. But after that, like, you know what's coming, right? I think that's totally doable. I think that's, ethical or ethical. Excuse me, I can't fucking talk. I don't see any problem with that personally, like, because people know who's getting taken care of and how. So sorry to completely derail. UBI sucks.
Yeah, I mean, also, I want to say, I'm not for universal health care, as your token extreme conservative, I guess. But I would much rather prefer that over, UBI. I'll tell you why. It's also, some of it is on the principle, and I mean, I know that doesn't really mean much to people anymore, but it means a lot to me still. And I tell you what, I'm going to add on to his story about going to the store. I've only recently come into some money, and I definitely have gone to the store, and they were selling food stamps at 6 to 1. So you'd take $1 for every dollar that 6 to 1. Yeah, it's crazy stuff. And so you go in there, and you'd be able to go buy lobster and steak. And I know that's like the meme, oh, they're buying lobster steak. But I mean, I also knew girls that had food stamps, and their mans was paying for everything, and they would go, and we would go to the store, and I would be like, oh yeah, let me trade you whatever 6 to 1 and get lobster and steak and take advantage of it. But also, on that note,
He's
sometimes
kidding, Feds. He's kidding.
yeah, I mean, allegedly, I've seen it happen, right? And so, I mean, you
In
go.
Grand Theft Auto.
Right, and so I'm not saying it's an anecdotal example, but the point of it is that I'm making is, even if they were doing this the proper way, they weren't selling 6 to 1 and getting these lobster steak, or they were actually just going. I do have a problem with the idea that, hey, someone could go eat lobster and steak while I'm working, and I got a $40,000 a year job, and I'm slightly above this UBI line or whatever, 50,000, 60,000, and I'm sitting here paying bills. And luckily I'm in Texas, so our cost of living is low. But if I was in, say, California, I'd be barely above the poverty line or whatever, and I'd be over there sitting here and turn around, I see homie, good with his universal income money, and I'm over here screwed because I'm too high. I
You'd
got
have your universal income money though too. You'd have the same thing.
So my family growing up, we made about $1,000 more than the poverty line. We didn't qualify for any of the system help because my dad made just a little bit over by working 3 jobs so that he can support a family. Like, the system is against you.
So wait, are you saying that people that get assistance were getting more than $1,000 worth of benefits? If that's the case, then he's just making a bad. Well, then you're still better off than the people who are getting food stamps and stuff. I don't understand.
No, I'm sorry, I'm confused.
Wait, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm
his lift was more than the assistance. So his additional added income, he might have been busting his butt, but he gave you more than that assistance would have given you, right?
No. That's an extra $1,000 a year, not an extra $1,000 a month.
Oh, okay. That's like you're right on the line then.
Yes,
Exactly.
we were right on the line, and we could not qualify for any
All
of
right.
the healthcare stuff or anything. So we went without for quite a while just because he made a little bit more than the government allowed.
That's crazy. Why
I mean,
don't you
I
scale
get-
back
Which
your
is why
employment then?
it's very true
Yeah.
which is why it's very true for people, and this is why I say that America loves to keep the poor, is because there's people that literally can't afford to get a raise. I've seen it where people have turned down raises and say, no, I can't afford that raise. I cannot afford to make that much money. Because then my insurance goes away, my food stamps go away, and that amount of money isn't enough to replace those. I can't afford to do that. So,
And on the other hand,
it keeps the
we've
poor
got
poor.
We've got Walmart who won't pay people a full-time wage, so they don't have to give them health care.
Yeah.
Or should they
It's
not be
well,
allowed to do that?
that's how these places get away with it. They'll say, "Oh, well, you're working 38 hours a week, and you have to work 40 hours a week to do with it." So they'll
Technically, you have
purposefully
to work
make it so.
You'll
36,
go
but
after
yeah.
Walmart, but the small business owners are going to be affected too if you do that. So, like, say, like I own a business, I couldn't
So
afford to pay
so
all
put an
my
employee
employees.
count on it. Yeah,
Oh.
put
Yeah,
a minimum on it.
Put like a 25-person employee count on it or whatever.
Yeah.
Desperado brings up in the chat, why not making it an adjusted UBI that scales as your income increases?
Hey.
Well,
I'm fine with that.
Well, when does it stop though? Do you
Well,
just
it would
keep
scale-
getting
scale-
support
would-
no matter
no,
what?
It would scale down to like if you make this much money, it's down to 0. So basically, it would scale down.
Then I'm fair. I think that's fair.
It's a lot harder to get that passed then. If everybody gets it, then it's fair. Like anybody, like the counter argument.
If everyone gets it, you're talking $2.4 trillion a year.
Okay, look, that's
Well,
way
where-
too
where are you
simple
coming
of
up
a
with that
figure.
money?
Okay, when you say that, that's way too simple of a figure. You're not talking about any of the economic impact. You're not talking about how our GDP is going to increase. You're not talking about how costs of other programs are going to decrease from this. You
Yeah,
can't
let's
just keep
give
throwing out
Oprah
this number.
$1,000 a month.
Yeah,
You could have $1,000 tax deduction. I mean, that's fine with me.
Are you really gonna cry that Oprah got $1,000 if you get $1,000? You'd be like, great, I got this. I guess Oprah got it too. Fuck me. Just burn my
I just
fucking
think
check.
it's funny. I just think it's funny. Like,
I mean, and you're talking about 1/8 their GDP.
Jonathan Taylor and the Colts just signed a $45 million 3-year deal, and he's gonna get the $1,000 a month.
Good.
too.
That means I don't want to hear shit that he has to say about how it's not fair that he has to pay taxes on it. Be like, good, then take your check every month that you get, put it aside, and apply that to the fucking taxes that UBI is making.
He pays a higher.
Yeah, he'd pay a higher percentage of taxes.
Yeah, so he would be the one who should be paying. Like,
well, you know what? His taxes will be reduced. Paying a higher percentage of taxes, then he can pay $12,000 a year less. Because
what are y'all talking about? Like,
a year from UBI.
we're just gonna put it on the national credit card. We don't have to increase taxes. We'll just fucking. I wish I was memeing.
We could print more money.
I know.
But that freaks everybody out for no reason.
It's funny to me how people just are like, yeah, the government will find it.
So, do we want to keep beating on this topic, or do we want to hit up the next one?
I guess we'll do the next one.
So I'll add one last thing in. The one way I would be okay with this is if we trimmed other parts of the government. If we trimmed unnecessary spending in the military, if we trimmed unnecessary spending in elsewhere. Yes, there's there's definitely unnecessary spending in the military, and I can show you proof if I was at my house, but I'm not. There's unnecessary spending in all of these governmental divisions and all these governmental agencies. If you manage to come up with the money from trimming these other this like unnecessary spending from other agencies, and we're able to fund this via the trimming, I'm absolutely cool with it. That's great. That's amazing. But unless you're able to like trim those, then no, it should definitely scale. It should definitely scale down. We need to do something else, but it's not like every citizen gets $1,000.
The problem is that oh, son of a bitch. Go next. I'm sorry.
Oh, I got a problem. Who here actually trusts the government to spend money
That's where I was going to. It wouldn't come from where they overspend. It would go to education. It would come from education. It would come from all sorts of things that already are lacking. So it wouldn't come from like where they think that they wouldn't take from the military.
So I would have.
Why not make them give some of it to us so we don't have to trust them with?
I'll tell you why.
1.6 trillion a year.
So if I'm going to trust the government to spend this money, you know who knows how? Okay, let me try this here. You know who knows how they can spend their money the best? I can spend my money the best. I don't need to give my money over to the government to hope that
I don't know
Bob
about that,
over here,
Chief.
listen, over here, Bob over here, to go spend his money on like lobster steak and heroin. That's not my problem. I have a real problem with the principal idea that even if they're going to buy toilet paper and medicine, that's still not my problem. Like, it's my money. Why should it go to these things?
Okay, so you know what? Everyone gets to keep 100% of their own money, and everyone gets to keep 100% of their own money, and now I have to pay for the fire department to put out my fire a week ago. Like, if
I think you're taking this to an
the fire
extreme.
department's not free.
No, that's the libertarian fantasy.
That's the anarchist fantasy. Let's be real here. All right, like
so what is libertarianism?
So I think that you and I should start a communist garage band called Steak what was it? Steak, lobster, and heroin. What do you say?
Yeah.
Wait.
just
Let's be
saying.
real here. They did it right the first time. It's blackjack and hookers, boys.
Oh.
Anyway,
Now you're talking to my
like,
soul, dude.
You're damn right I am. Anyway, hey guys, so just to get what Sprout was saying though, like at least I will give credit to most of the people who are pitching this. I don't know if I believe them that much, but a lot of the folks who are like pro UBI are like, hey, look, we're gonna fold like Social Security and food stamps and most of these things that we take as like the normal like social helps. We're just gonna fold them all into UBI and just like here's your $1,000, you know, or 1,000, 2,000, whatever it may be, go. Like I could at least smoke that one a little bit more in the regards, like at least you're trying to like balance it a little bit, but I'm definitely just far more in favor of something that's targeted. I think if we actually had more sensible leadership, we would actually see a greater return.
Lethy, I'm getting ready to give you a transition. Are you ready? I'm getting ready to give you a transition.
go.
Are you ready?
Wait, Soyato first.
I think that if it comes down, I think if it comes down to it, right, that pregnant women should as soon as they realize they're pregnant, as soon as it's confirmed they're pregnant, they should receive the UBI for the unborn child that they are carrying at the time, as if it is a person in the family.
You are a
there's
savage.
Going
Right,
hard.
Except,
Going hard.
so I also want to give my olive branch. You know, when we look at the NPR, not the NPR, the pod, I forget what it was, ancient podcast, look at the issue of disability and disability coverage, especially in the rural South, where people didn't have any idea that they could get a job where they weren't on their feet all day. And so instead of like going to retraining or unemployment, they went on disability. And there's like this huge scam. I forget the name of I thought it was NPR, but anyway, so this is like, we effectively do have UBI in some places in this country. And that needs to change one way or the other.
I don't disagree.
I mean, what if I told you a cool concept that even if we could prove it was working, I still would be against it?
I totally believe you.
Nice.
It's on purpose.
You can go off into your libertarian realm.
Look,
whatever.
Like, guys, I'll dig in with them. Like they're like I will stand on principle that like even if you said that like you know we're gonna live in that you know magical world of like fucking fairy tales and shit, like there is something just openly disgusting about UBI on a moral level. It's just like, hey, you're just gonna throw money at people.
Well, if you hate government, I hear Cambodia's pretty chill. Like reduced government, right?
Well, let me tell you who's going to take advantage of this the most. It's
Okay,
people
I'm
like
lost.
me. I sell business services. What are a lot of these people going to try to do with this UBI? They're going to try to open up businesses, which in theory sounds good, right? But then you're going to have people like me pop up.
Who's
and we're
opening
gonna,
up at a business for a cost of $1,000 a month? Please tell me who's doing that.
It's additive.
I would say like 70% of my clientele.
Like,
Yeah.
like,
No, and I'll tell you why. Because they open it up. They're like people like that start barbershops. They need credit card processing. So I'd come in and I'd set their and stuff like that. It's like really low level. So what happens is they
Who
get
starts a barbershop for $1,000 a month? The rent.
Oh,
this is easy.
I'm gonna kick you in the teeth. Okay, look, here's the
predatory rates. Like Square's already putting at people at 2.
We don't have a second topic.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
It's gonna be $1,000 or more just to
No,
rent the fucking shop.
no. Please. Oh, wait, let me just tag this, okay? Like, the biggest argument that UBI actually has behind it is not that it's like, hey, here's your $1,000, go live on it. That's not the point of it. The point of it is that it's additive, right? So you're still wanting to get that job that like helps you pay for the things you want extra. This is just to keep you on the base load. So if you're that guy who's like, man, I've been saving for 5 years to open that business that I want, and then all of a sudden you got that $1,000 extra income, ignore the downstream consequences because you know that's what we're gonna do today. But you know
he didn't
what?
say that. He literally said people were making businesses off of $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
That's
It's
literally
additive.
what he said. No,
Yes.
he didn't say it was additive. No,
I
no,
could
no,
see it.
Yeah,
I
my
could see it
God.
happening.
So
Yeah, a
you
lot
said
of
it was additive. He did not. He said they're doing it off $1,000 a
A lot of
month,
them
and I
do.
asked how.
Look, I didn't
like less than $100. Like
Right,
yeah,
like guys, I run a business on Twitch where I make like $100 to $300 a month. Like, I mean, for real, like this is additive. Like, regardless of like just
He just
whether
said it's $100 a month now. Like, I don't think
Oh
you
my-
understand what he's saying
Wait,
versus what
I
you're saying.
understand. Oh my god, like I don't think it matters.
I'm gonna pick a number out of the air and argue about that.
Yeah, it's just like I
Alright.
don't think it matters, right? It's just like, all right, cool. The bottom base load idea behind it is we're increasing your income so you have more purchasing power to get the things that you want. Now,
I agree
like-
with the idea. What I'm disagreeing with is the idea that he just brought up in the middle of nowhere, out of thin air, that people are going to that people are making businesses off of this money and only
The
this
numbers
money.
are wrong.
And then you went. Well, yeah, because when we talk about people making businesses, it's not going to be this money that is like strictly what they're using, right? There's gonna be other money involved because there has to be. In order to make a business, there has to be other money involved. You're not making a business off $1,000 a month. I'm sorry,
Absolutely
you're not.
You're wrong, and I'll give you an example that I literally sold today. It was this mobile barber shop. I pulled up, we walked up. She had already got her LLC and she got her like EIN, and she had all the other paperwork I needed. We pulled up. I sold her a credit card processing machine that she could attach to her phone so she could start doing mobile barber services. She said she started for less than like $750 was I think her total amount of $750, $800 for all the stuff she had, and including like getting some stuff for like stickers for her car. So she spent more than she needed, and so now I'm gonna get a percentage of her sales every time she swipes a card. So like yeah, so you're wrong. You're wrong, and this is just one example. I helped a
not
notary get a
wrong.
business. I helped a notary get a business. That was like whatever the notary fee, $200 here in Texas. Boom, they started a business. Now they got the $200 LLC. That's less than $300. They started a business. So
Yeah,
you just
okay,
don't
when
know
you have
what
an
the fuck you're
LLC,
talking about.
sure. Operating cost of the business is the
How would-
you're saying that.
Gas. That's it. That's all she got to do. She's a mobile notary. Gas. Show
Okay,
up.
congratulations. You found the one outlier. Congratulations.
No.
Woo!
That's two outliers. I named two
Congratulations.
outliers right there.
Round
I
of
should give
applause
you like
there, buddy.
10
Round of
more.
applause.
I mean, so you're
Round of
wrong.
applause. You
I
found
mean,
the
if I got
outlier.
one, there's 10
Do you want to
more.
bring up another outlier? Or do you want to
I
talk
mean,
about
yeah,
the
I
massive
do.
Yeah,
amount
yeah,
of
let's
businesses
do
that,
hundred.
that
I
you're
can
talking
keep
about?
going.
Yeah,
I can keep
100
going.
anecdotes.
How about t-shirt shops? Oh, you want to do t-shirt shop? You can start a t-shirt shop, go to Walmart, buying blanks, have a screen press, spend $200 on that. But I can just name these because this is who I sell to every fucking
What
day.
about
I
the
literally
rent?
do
What
this
about the rent
every
for the shop?
day.
Rent for the shop. What about
They
the
don't
rent
have
for
to
the
do it.
shop?
They can do it at home. You can write it
Yeah,
off
they
in
don't
the
have to have a
office.
shop.
Okay, what about
That's what I'm
shipping?
talking about. You don't know what you're
What
talking
about
about.
shipping?
The
This is
customer
literally
pays
my-
for
What about shipping?
This is
shipping.
literally
Come
my
on.
This is literally my bread and butter. I do this every day. You're wrong. Like I don't
I'm
know what
with
to tell you.
look, I'm with Gibbs on this one, Sprout. I love you, but I think your ADD is just kicking in, and you're like zeroing down on one particular like iota of this, and like you're completely missing the wider point.
Maybe I am, but like I don't see how anyone's maintaining a business for $1,000 a month.
Get off
By
a
their
thousand.
income.
Like that's the problem.
By
It's
their
$1,000 initial
revenues.
startup cost. After that, they gotta make the money, bro. Like
Right. Anyway, as much as I hate to say this, who's up for abortion?
Let's go.
Mexican abortions. Let's go.
True. This is actually kind of spicy, but
This
Leith,
was
kick it.
brutal. On to topic 2. Desperate American women are flooding into Mexico in search of reproductive care. The overturning of Roe v. Wade has left many Americans seeking routes to safe abortion south of the border. So now we have to worry about the safety and travel of people that are fleeing from states that have horrible reproductive rights and complaining about Mexico coming across our borders for benefits that they can possibly get from us. So let's see how everybody feels about this, starting with Admiral Gibbs.
I'm kind of torn on this. It's a real problem whenever we have American citizens having to go to other countries to get medical care. I feel like, and that's a real issue. Um, you know, and I'm not your typical like religious right, so I kind of sit here as I feel like people should have autonomy over their own body. So it's a little bit. I don't really want the government to tell me what I can do in my own home. I don't want the government to tell me what I can do with my body. So I'm a little bit torn on this issue when it comes to that. So I'm probably not going to fall totally there, but I am sympathetic to like the it's a baby kind of argument. So I'm a little bit in the middle on this one personally.
All right. Ginger.
Well, medical tourism grows in Mexico because healthcare, like he said, is unaffordable. 44% of American population can't afford their own healthcare. 40% of Americans said that they go without medical care because they can't afford it. They're increasing restrictions on things that we are allowed to use for medical care that isn't something that's like cosmetic based. Sorry. Now with the development of Roe versus Wade being overturned, women do feel like they're being they have less. I'm sorry. They have more freedoms being taken away. So of course they're going to go to what they know from previous women, which is the same kind of healthcare that you would receive in the U.S. For a lower price.
Right. Thank you for that. Rich.
Yeah, I live in Texas, so this is an area where this is going to happen a lot because we're probably the most. Well, yeah, I'd say we're the most conservative state on the border at this point. So abortion restrictions are only going to get worse here. Like this, don't forget, this is the state where if somebody's just suspected of getting an abortion, anybody who helped her in any way is also liable, right? And can be gone after in the civil courts.
Bunch
And
of
there's
fines, yeah.
Yeah, there are incentives for that here. So I can see Texas women especially like using these services. An underground railroad has developed here in Texas, as it has in a lot of red states, where people are trying to get them like to the border of neighboring states. Problem is, our neighboring states tend to be other red states. I think New Mexico being the only one that isn't. So if you it used to be that we would, like in the Dallas area, you were an hour away from Oklahoma, it'd be fine. It would not be as bad as trying to go all the way over to New Mexico, which is where we'd have to go now, because Oklahoma eventually passed their own law, which made it even harder for women in Texas.
But
The
then
point
even
is,
going,
like,
oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I forgot these were
We're
opening
open.
statements. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So you've got this sort of like whack-a-mole process happening where you think you know what the plan's going to be, and then it has to shift somewhere else. Now, fortunately, Mexico is like shifting to the left when it comes to these sorts of things. So for women in Texas, like they will have a place to go. But again, like you're talking about a longer and longer distance. If you're in Florida, there's nowhere within almost 1,000 miles where you can go and count on this sort of thing. So like if you're in Miami, for instance, because you have to go all the way up. I think that it's showing is that women are having to go to greater and greater lengths in order to ensure their reproductive health, and something's going to give.
Rich, Seattle.
All right. So this is my really cringy victory lap, because I said in 2021 and 2022, when Texas was looking at expanding their ability to prosecute women for getting health care, that this would result in additional denial of service. And so this would mean that effectively, if my family was in the same situation, if not for class and access to this, medical care from a highfalutin hospital, I would not have a daughter. Like if we're going to interrogate a woman who has a miscarriage and say, hey, are you really sure that's a miscarriage? Which is what is happening in Texas right now. It's going to cause fewer children to be born. And this is the reality. So yeah, I feel for the entire state of Texas with what it's had to go through for the last few years. And with no more Roe v. Wade, it only makes sense that women have to flee across the border. It is really sad and depressing. And I was fucking right about all of this demonic shit that women are having to go through in Texas.
Damn it, Cassandra. Sprout.
It makes sense why women are crossing the border to Mexico to get abortions. It makes sense. I am essentially for all terms being pro-choice in the matter until technology advances to the point to where we have artificial wombs. At that point in time, I think that abortion should be outlawed, because I would view it as extremely immoral when the mother would no longer have to bear the burden or bear the weight of the child, and it could be sent into an artificial womb where it can develop in the artificial womb. At that point in time, I think that I do believe it's a human life. I also believe in the prioritization of the mother's needs and the mother's health. during that portion of human life. So when it comes down to it, I still believe it's a human life. And I just believe in prioritizing one over the other at this time. And then when it becomes time that we can have both, then we do that. But until then, like this whole outlawing abortion after so many weeks is insane. People sometimes people don't know at post 8 weeks or pre 8 weeks that they're pregnant. So they figure out they're pregnant, and then all of a sudden they have no knowledge. They have no knowledge of it prior, and then all of a sudden they can't get an abortion because after a certain time frame. I think that there's a lot of laws that are just kind of like we make this line, and essentially there's no exceptions to this line. And especially when we talk about like rape, incest, or anything along those lines, it's absolutely insane.
Bro, Tiberius.
All right, I actually got to ask you this, Leith. Do you want me to give the real opinion, or do you want me just to meme this shit in the sun?
Into the sun, sir.
Okay, sure. That one's easy. I love it. So abortion bad, and fuck Mexico for allowing for this degeneracy in the first fucking place. Okay, if you're gonna go to Mexico to get an abortion, you can fucking stay there. There's your memes.
Thank you for that.
Can we get his real opinion now?
What's the real
Sure.
opinion, Ty?
Look, I've said this. I try not to like go too far into this because it's like an ethical and moral fuckery. When it comes to abortion. So TLDR is this. I do believe that if you are any kind of self-respecting man and a potential father, you should be at least somewhat pro-life. Anti-abortion, pro-life, whatever you want to call it. If you are any kind of self-respecting woman, you should feel almost the exact opposite way, where you want that bodily autonomy to make sure that you're not getting screwed by a government who, let's just be real here, doesn't give nuance a lot of credit, right? So there's always going to be like a kind of a give and take between those two. Now, when you actually look at like the greater morality and the greater ethics here, abortion really does come off to me as blatantly immoral, but it does come off as actually somewhat ethical. And I know that sounds a little crazy to some folks, but basically it's this. I do believe that you are killing some kind of like human life form. So like just at the gate, it's probably an immoral act. But there is levels to where we have to acknowledge that that life form does have a specific meaning to its own. In the case, is it a rape baby? Is it somewhat deformed to the point where it will have no livelihood outside of the womb? Is it going to kill mom? You know, that kind of stuff. The long and the short here is that abortion's complicated. It's fucking messy. And I'm not sad that we killed Roe, but I totally acknowledge as a Republican that this is a losing fight for us. We're not going to win this one.
Mm-hmm.
Go on.
Poison pill.
And let's go to Jack.
This is just as Ginger was pointing out, another service in a long outsourcing to other countries because of the fact that our healthcare system is completely out of control. We have failed to regulate it at multiple times in the last 35 years, despite having pushes from it, popular opinion for said restrictions. But the money from lobbyists was a little too tempting to all of these politicians. Furthermore, when you actually look into the ownership of which hedge funds own which hospital groups, you then look into who invest into those hedge funds. We also then see a lot of our politicians are actually profiting off of the insane fucking prices we charge. It started with, by the way, the other thing is it is a vast majority of minorities who do this, and people are like, oh no, it's rich white people who are doing this. No, we had people who were literally going and doing boat trips across the Pacific to go to Thailand originally to get hormones for trans treatment. We had people who were going to Cuba for certain vaccines that we wouldn't allow in because of where they were made, so on and so forth. And the reason that we wouldn't allow it is because it was a minority population that was primarily affected by the diseases that these vaccines would help with. It is no surprise that the American population is going to find a way around this. Every population in history has found a way around such restrictive practices.
So
Here we go.
Jack, I have a just an off the wall solution for politicians and like owning businesses and stuff, like, or owning like portions of businesses and making money off of like legislation that they're signing into law or not signing into law, is that if you are going to be in a public office, then you must sell all stock. You cannot be invested in any. You cannot have any investment into any corporation.
No,
And
because then
all
you are
stock must be
restricting.
sold.
Because then you're restricting their economic freedom in ways that we would not restrict anybody else.
That's
if
fine,
anything,
because
if anything, the way we would have to solve this, where we are not actually putting such a ridiculous restriction on them, where they literally can't make money within the capitalist system as we understand it. What we're trying to do is prevent them manipulating the system. What you would do is you say you have to divest yourself of these stocks and invest it in a blind trust. Blind trust would then mean they wouldn't know what they're investing in, what their decisions would benefit or hurt within that fund, etc. So it would no longer be an impetus on their voting.
Jimmy Carter's peanut farm.
I would be down for that, but I'm not I'm not saying that that I'm against I'm not saying that I'm against limiting people who are in public offices financial freedom, or because at a certain point when people were voted into office, it was financially taxing on them. They weren't at their farms, they couldn't make money via their farms, and it wasn't like a financial pro to be in a public office, which is why a lot of people back then didn't stay in public office for long. They served and then they left and went back to their farms to make the money. So I'm okay with public offices not being like a source of money for people to just stay in term after term after term, just try to get more money that way.
Well, the blind trust would prevent the term after term being a financial incentive, as opposed to there are people who wish to be career politicians because it's what they train for, it's what they go to school for a vast majority of their adult life to be able to train to do, so on and so forth. It is only a very recent shift that we've had the last 30 years or so, where we've seen more lawyers going into public office than anything else. Before that, we had political scientists, aka statesmen.
Most lawyers have a poli-sci degree.
Not all.
Whoa!
But I'm just saying.
I mean, that's what they usually go to school for. I only know that.
It's called a JD, right?
He's talking about their undergrad minor.
He's talking about their. Typically, it's in criminal justice. Typically, it's in criminal justice, not poli-sci.
With a poli-sci minor, which is why I said minor. It is more commonly minor, Gibbs. I'm not dissuading from this. I'm just saying, like, it wasn't lawyers as a majority up until very recently. That's all.
So back to the issue at hand. There have been people not too long ago that have been going to Mexico for specific like body surgeries, like after pregnancy, like the whole deal. And then ones that got kidnapped, most of them died. So considering the safety of Americans in the process, that we are forcing the hand of people to go where they can get care.
Oh yeah, this is like forcing moms to use coat hangers. Like what I'm saying is that like you're forcing U.S. citizens to take extremely risky behavior, in order to prioritize in order to prioritize their own health, their own life. Say that there's going to be a ton of health complications with the pregnancy, and you happen to live in a state that you cannot have an abortion under any circumstances, because there are states in the union that say you cannot have a abortion under any circumstances. So say that there's gonna be some health risks. Yeah, like you're gonna prioritize your health, because we all have self-prioritization. That's how we survive, is we prioritize ourselves. So when it comes down to it, yeah, like it's not surprising that people are going to take that risky decision, because the other decision seems just as risky, if not riskier.
Well, the problem I find it interesting that, I mean, it wouldn't. Let's say there's a complication for the abortion, either if they do it in Mexico or if they do it in a different state. Would they then be allowed to treat the complication in the state that they weren't allowed to have it in?
Well, some of them are going to prosecute them.
Yeah. So, right? So, I mean, they would have to completely go out of state for everything, which means that you're out of network. So, even though insurance doesn't pay for abortions, they do pay for the complications that arise afterwards. So, if
Yeah.
it so that means that they would not only be risking their lives, but they would also be having to pay out of pocket for anything that could happen potentially.
Sorry, I wasn't here for some of this, but does anybody else think this is a good thing that they're going to Mexico? I think this sends a great message to all the states that banned it. Look, you're not reducing the number of abortions, but you're
But
reducing
it's not a
the
good
number
thing
of
for the
abortions.
citizens. It's not a
Yeah,
good thing for the citizens. It is
well-
sending a message, but it's not a good thing for the citizens that are going down there and are taking this
It's
risky
just
behavior.
dangerous.
It's extremely dangerous for them to do this.
Not to
Yeah.
mention,
Like I said, it's the same idea as it's the same idea. It's not like literally the same, but it's like the same idea as of like using the coat hanger example. It's not the literal same, but they're choosing riskier behaviors
I
to
understand
have
the
the
bad
same
part, which
procedure
is
done.
why I would have to ask, does anybody think this is a good thing? I'm kind of like bringing the bad in with it, because what is happening now is that they're saying like, oh, we're not stopping people from killing babies. What we are stopping is American health standards being a part of this process that we don't like. So instead of people getting like good standard of care, now we're throwing it over to I guess from their perspective, we're having Mexico kill our babies, and I just think that the people that are against that might have some feelings about that. Might make them maybe reconsider to some degree.
I mean,
Well,
there
I
is a
mean,
level.
yeah, they
Sorry.
should reconsider anyways. I think
But they're
I was
not.
actually like really proud of Indiana for a time being. When there was I think there was a girl in Ohio. It was really popular right after Roe v. Wade got ex-nayed. But there was a girl in Ohio that like was pregnant due to incest, I believe, and was trying to get an abortion in Ohio, and Ohio wouldn't let her. And Indiana did, and I was like, okay, good job, Indiana. And then Indiana turned around and outlawed all the shit. I'm like, oh, well, I take that back. So like, it's I don't know. I think that they already are receiving the bad feedback. I just don't think that people are going to. I don't think these states are going to turn around and legalize it again. I think it has to be a federal action. Like I don't think marijuana is going to become legalized in all 50 states until federal action is taken. So
Right.
I think at a certain point, federal action needs to be taken in the same way for marijuana, in the same way for abortion, because all 50 states aren't going to simply agree. At a certain point, federal action needs to be taken.
well, yeah, Texas won't join in. I mean, they are even incentivizing people to turn people in. Like, you get like $1,000
Yeah, they had
reward.
like a bounty hunting. Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
bounty hunting system. Yeah.
So I
Didn't
mean,
people
it's just
flood their reporting site with fake reports? That was the
I hope
coolest
they
shit
did.
I ever saw.
They
I
did.
certainly hope they did. Yeah.
They did. But
Yes,
that only lasts for so long. You know what I mean?
No,
Like
that-
something like
no,
that only
no.
lasts for so
What are you
long.
talking about? I send
Sprout.
3 reports every day. What are you talking about?
No, Sprout. We literally have scripts on GitHub that will do it for you, where it is max filling the entry tab of
Oh, really?
400,000 characters.
Got GPT,
And
yo!
it is sending them every 5 to 8 seconds
Oh,
to the
shit.
point where
Okay.
like, and it's using legitimate text so that they can't even use software to get around it.
Damn. Okay. Well, never
So
mind.
good.
I was just thinking like that kind of like
Don't fuck with nerds. We will fuck
outside
with
of
you back.
Hey.
outside of
Immoral
outside of,
degenerates, I tell you what.
outside of automation, that kind of action only lasts for so long. So if it wasn't automated, then like that kind of reaction you'd only get like that mass false reports for so long before it would die out. But outside of automation.
Oh, the
It
thing
seems
is,
like we're
it's not
using
even
automation.
false reports. They're just going in and like putting in sections of books and poems.
Oh
and
shit.
they're
That's fun.
just maxing out the entry fill so that they can tax the server to an extreme.
That's funny as fuck.
PDOS or something.
Sorry, I
Because
have a
false
hard
reporting is illegal.
I have a
Go ahead,
hard
Ginger.
out right now. I gotta get going.
You
But
have a
thank
good
you
night.
so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And this was a wonderful chat with you guys.
Oh
And
man, I was
Have a
gonna
great night,
crush
Ginger.
you.
Good times.
Did you
hope
want to
to
give yourself an
talk to you all
outro?
soon. Ginger Remuth on Twitch and Twitter and YouTube, 2 R's in the middle. Thank you so much for having me.
See you next time.
All right, now that she's gone, let's all talk about how we really feel about abortion. No, I'm just kidding.
Women,
Yeah.
am I
Yeah.
right?
Fuck those women, you know.
Oh no. But the thing is
or
regardless of how you
don't
feel about it,
is more the point.
Feeling like
regardless of
Sneeko
how-
right now.
Hey,
Regard-
abstinence is cringe.
regardless of how you feel about abortion, the thing that we have to actually look at here is that this is the state of the American healthcare system that's this bad. The fact that we have American citizens that are willing to go to second and third world countries to gain their health care at some kind of a reasonable rate, which, by the way, they're not actually risking their life with the medical procedure. They're risking their life going into some dangerous regions to get decent medical care at a reasonable price. That's not something America should be proud of. That is not something that we should aspire to. I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on, conservative, progressive, don't give a fuck. That is something we should be ashamed of.
Appreciate the raid.
Yeah, honestly, if anybody told you they got a medical procedure, if they went down to Mexico to get a medical procedure, you'd be scared shitless if you cared about that. But you'd be like, what? Why? Are you fucking serious? Stop. I would have taken you to the hospital.
Come to Seattle. We've got base gender care up here.
I mean, I know a lot of
Welcome
people that go
Raiders.
to Mexico for like general just health stuff in general down here in Texas. I mean, it's been the norm for a long time for people.
Yes,
that don't
because
have
it's cheaper.
It's
Yeah,
cheap, but
because
I mean,
it's
even
so
for like
much cheaper.
optional surgeries, like say like you want to go get breast implants, you can go down to Mexico and get it for like
Again,
$100.
but I'm still
But, like,
talking
so
because of the cheapness. It's not.
Yeah.
That is all I'm getting at. I'm not sitting here like.
But are you against that? Are y'all saying like y'all
Aren't
like,
you worried
I'm
when
saying-
you hear that?
I am saying it. I am saying it is something that we
I
as
said if
the
it's someone you
country
care
of
about.
America with
You
the
would look so
ideals that-
cute with knockers, really.
But it is something I am saying that we as Americans, with the ideals that we profess to have for the foundational understanding of this country, should be ashamed of that fact. There is a drastic difference between, do I want to prevent it? No, I don't want to prevent it. Let me rephrase
Samantha
that.
coming in hot.
I want
God
to
damn it.
I want to prevent it in the way that medical care here is affordable and reasonable for the citizens. And okay, I guess people just hopping in clothes now. Gotcha.
We got our token Mexican.
hold on.
Mexicans.
My dad.
Yeah, if anybody belongs in the Mexican stream, it's me. Listen, you lost one bitch and you just gained another. Welcome.
Wow.
Do you need abortion services? Let's be clear about this.
With the way medical advancements are going, you never know. Thailand is fucking crazy. Okay, let's just shout out to Thailand.
Yeah. I was thinking you would knock someone up. That's where I was going.
One of my partners has had 3 abortions.
I like them 3 times more now.
Paid for by the state.
Based France.
Wait.
True.
Okay. I was gonna say wait.
Like she was
But they
way
have-
too. She
they
was
have-
to be fair. Other countries they tend to get sexually engaged much younger because they're more mature. She was just way too young to have a child.
They have figured out now how to turn stem cells into sperm. So we are getting closer and closer every day in terms of that medical advancement stuff. Yeah.
Call me when they
God.
turn sperm into stem cells.
They do. That's Hillary's patented technology. Then they inject it into her skin after mixing with the adrenochrome.
Finally, we're
doing
having
so
the real
well.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, continue the real conversation.
I don't think we have anyone who's like ostensibly pro-life on the panel. I think that's just really where this conversation dies.
Not
I
as
think
regards the law. No.
Wait,
Yeah,
it's like
But it's more so about law and how to protect American citizens that are
right. Like,
crossing over there from like ending up in
I think
cartel.
we've
like
we've generally come
Texas
to a
ain't pro-life?
consensus. I think we've generally come to a consensus.
yeah,
I
like
don't think anyone
the
here is
problem
generally-
is
Texas is pro-life. Texas is absolutely.
But
Maybe
there's like
Texas on this
like,
panel here.
No,
Texas
no.
is the most pro-choice state in the union. What are you talking about?
Pro-choice to shoot your neighbor? I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
Texas, compared to a lot of these other southern states, is this right? So we do have a religious right, like area, but we also have like the hey, the libertarian like mindset, or mind your own fucking business kind of thing. We don't like the government coming in and telling us what we can and can't do. So it's kind of tore. That's why you see a lot of that's why Texas is not usually considered in the Bible Belt. So you see like places like Alabama and Georgia and some of these other states where Alabama is the one I really am thinking of, where they pass these super draconian abortion laws, as opposed to Texas, who kind of like follows suit. They're not really the leader on like some of these social issues because, to be totally honest, we're like, hey, I don't want them telling us we can't smoke weed in our house. I don't want them telling us I can't own my guns. So why do I want them to tell us what I can and can't do with our bodies? So that's kind of like where you get a split with Republicans in Texas, at least.
I think that Wendy Davis is the most badass Texas legislature for actually doing a standing speaking filibuster against those restrictive abortion laws that would have reduced the size of my family. So while I appreciate all of you in Texas who are not anti-choice, this is sort of like you have had to go to extreme measures to protect any rights you have.
Gibbs, the thought process. Now, I'm not saying I ascribe to this thought process, but the thought process is that that you're not necessarily doing something to your body. You're doing something to another human's body, and that human has no voice and has no protection. And so, like, the thought process isn't like the government's controlling what you're doing to your body. The thought process is the government's controlling that you're not taking away another human's rights.
I'm sure he understands that.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. I mean, I'm adopted. It could have been me getting aborted, so I understand that like intimately, right? But like, I mean, it could be anybody really, but like, it kind of hits home when you're adopted, I guess. But my thing is like, yeah, I definitely understand that. But then, there's also the Texas mentality of come and take it, fuck the government. I don't want them telling me what to do either way. And when they tell me I can't do something, it
wanna
kind of
try
rubs me the
harder.
wrong way. Yeah, now I kind of want to do it now. Like and like if we were sitting here talking about all medical procedures being done in Mexico for all these people that can't afford it, I think that might change the perception a little bit. When it comes to just abortions, it's hard for like people like Texas to be like, hey, yeah, whatever. But I don't know. I feel like
Well, I feel like for a lot of the other medical procedures that are done in Mexico, it's not done out of fear of safety. It's done out of fear of not even fear. It's done because it's cheaper. So people go to other countries to do medical procedures all the time. Most of the time because it's cheaper for them to do that.
It's usually highly elective,
And
right?
they sacrifice safety for money. So they're like, oh, it's cheaper. I'm gonna sacrifice safety for it being cheaper, and hopefully it all works out.
Am I correct in understanding that it's vastly majority of these things are elective surgeries? Like
Yes, the
breast
vast
implants
majority
and
I mean, up
hospital-
until this topic, yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't consider an abortion an elective procedure. I would call it a
wouldn't either.
necessary medical emergency.
Right. In fact, the
Wait.
vast majority of abortions after the second trimester, those are not elective. Like the number of children lost in the third trimester are the vast majority unelective. It's almost always it's almost always a miscarriage, and they're the same fucking procedure. This is my fucking victory lap. You can't tell the difference, so you've got to prosecute women who are experiencing a miscarriage. Demons, ugly fucking demons.
Well, I don't think the thought
There's the
process
spice.
again. I don't know why I'm backing up but whatever. I don't think the thought process is to prosecute women. I think the thought process has always been to prosecute doctors who are performing abortions outside of the law. I don't think
That's
I
even
don't think
crazier.
anyone.
not in Alabama.
Prosecute
Alabama, they're going after the
women.
women. They're even going after rape
Are
babies.
they really?
Yeah, they're going after you in Alabama hard for like right now. They're like,
Oh well, I
they're
guess the
starting to
thought
figure out
process
reasons.
has. I guess the thought process has changed since I've kind of like been there, but that was how I understood it.
Like,
Wow.
I-
Guess Alabama thought
I-
people didn't hate them enough anymore. They just had to amp it up, huh?
True.
Now we hate ourselves.
It's really crazy because this is like, I mean, this is kind of the problem I have. Like sitting as a Texas conservative, I really think this is a poison pill for the Republican Party. It's very clear that public perception leans one way on this, right? And
Well-
it's a domestic issue that rallies the Democrats to go out and vote in mass.
Wait,
And so they've died on this hill, and it's not totally their fault because the Supreme Court ruled against it, and then now they're like, oh shit, this is our policy basically, and it's really hurt them. I think it really hurt them in the midterms this week.
Let me split hairs with you, right? Before Roe, every time we had an election, we had the polls. Abortion was literally issue number 9, right? It just wasn't really popular. But for the people who came out, it was 80 or 90%, depending on what year it was, in favor that Republicans were voting on that issue, right? So it was our issue in like a limited frame because no one really gave a shit beyond those voters. The problem is we made it an issue for everyone. And while more people did find it to be, let me rephrase this. While more people did find it to be an issue where they wanted to vote with Republicans because they were like, oh, wait, okay, Republicans got abortion like to actually move. I'm going to vote for them because of this, right? We saw our voter share go up on that. The blowback from it was worse. We saw that issue go from number 9 to number 2, literally behind the economy and inflation combined. And it was 60% turnout for Democrats. Like,
and then the
we
economy
took
is
the L on
split.
that one.
Like, what's the correct way to fix it? So, like, that doesn't help us at all. Like,
Right.
we're sitting here, people like, oh, well, we need this or we need this, and like, versus abortion, it's so solidly you line up like on a side, like for it, one
Like,
way or the other.
I don't think this is outright our fight to lose. I want to make that very clear. I think most people do find abortion, at least to some degree, like immoral. The problem is that, like, I think Nikki Haley actually probably put it best. It's just, we need to show that we understand the difference between, hey, abortion bad, and abortion's bad, but we don't want to kill mom. And that's really like the conversation that we keep falling into, is that you've got these fucking jackwads who are like, yes, I'm proud that my state passed a 6-week abortion ban. I'm like, well, we just gave up the general. We're fucking done. Have fun, Dems. You got it.
All right. I'll take this fight. Reproductive freedom means all of it. If you're against any of it, you're really constraining my ability to have a family. And this is back to that cringy victory lap. But yeah, if you're really restricting abortion, then this is, and I'm not just talking the trivial, you got to really think about it. If it's a really late abortion, you really got to think about it. Wag your finger, make you look at the sonogram, whatever bullshit you have to go through. But actually legislating restrictions, this is a restriction on a fundamental freedom, the freedom to reproduce.
I also think it's really weird. I think it's really weird that people are there's laws in some states. I don't know if it's all states or some states, but there's definitely laws in some states to where women cannot electively get a surgery to I think it's get the tubes tied is what's considered to get the tubes tied to where they can no longer reproduce. And they cannot get that surgery until they're a certain amount of age or until they've had, I think, 2 kids. But like you have to hit one or the other. You can't just electively get the surgery because you decide that you don't want kids whatsoever.
Right.
I think women should be able to choose that they don't want kids and be able to get the surgery that would prevent them from having kids.
I don't care if women
it's mostly.
If I don't care if women use abortions as their primary form of birth control, I don't give a shit. I don't know when I don't know when a fetus is a human, but I know that woman's always a human. She gets the rights. If I'm uncertain, I don't know. Don't know what to tell you. But the person I know that has rights, they got fucking rights. I don't give a shit.
Elder, what I'm saying is women have tried to get this surgery to where it would prevent them from having kids, or prevent them even having to have an abortion, or prevent any of this. And they're being denied because they're too young or they don't have kids.
Talking about like IUDs or IUCs and shit?
No, tubal ligation.
Tubal ligation or partial hysterectomies.
Yeah, I'm all for that too. You should be able to get one. I don't care when. Get it. I don't care.
So
on the other hand,
question, Sprout.
Yeah,
okay.
There's like 30
artificial
states.
Wombs,
yeah.
Okay.
Should the woman be gone after if they decide to abort? If there's artificial wombs.
If there's an artificial womb and she chooses to abort, should the woman be gone after? Yes, yes, because at that point, because the artificial womb would be would be the
determining factor.
The government would have to pay for it if the woman still chose to get an abortion and to kill. To kill that
What's
life,
an artificial womb?
Wait, so who's
I will take it.
Paying for the artificial wombs and watching those? Who's doing that?
I will bite this bullet.
Hit it.
I will bite this bullet. If you give me an artificial womb and a government indemnification from child support and government eternally caring for that new human, because hey, we're going to have a fucking empty planet when the reproduction rate falls below 2.2. And we're looking at like less than 6 billion people by 2100. So yes, absolutely. If we have artificial wombs and it's like a simple outpatient procedure to get that out, yeah, hell yeah, do it. Take it out of me. Give it to the government. Give it to the creche, the state socialist creche. We're going to have this based state communist crash party. It's going to be Brave New World all over this fucking place.
God
Yeah,
damn it.
do
I
it.
want to say that y'all have convinced me to go against my Republican position and say if there are artificial wombs and the government's watching it, we're taxing it, then fuck that. We need the abortions because I am not trying to have my tax dollars go to the artificial
We need
womb and have
workers.
the government
We
watch
need
that.
strong arms
Fuck
and
that
legs
shit.
to
I don't
drive
want
this
I don't want
economy.
one side going to something like that is ridiculous. Not
You're
one
making
bit
tax-
stormtroopers.
so wait,
What are
wait,
you
wait,
okay
wait,
with
wait,
the tax
Children
dollars being
yearn
spent
for
on?
the
Fuck
mines.
that,
So wait,
bro.
Nothing.
Gibbs, you've literally
Fuck
placed
that.
taxes. You've literally placed taxes above human life at this point.
No, because it's
Children yearn for the
my
mines.
human life. It's my human life.
What are
It's
you
my family.
What are
It's
you
taking
okay with
money
your
out of
taxes
my
spent
people.
on?
Well, the military, because we need that. We need lots
Death,
of that.
not life.
And
Death.
then, really, as little as possible should be spent by the tax dollars.
Okay,
Basically,
this is the
keep people running.
problem. This is the problem. I
maybe
used to be a libertarian, and this is exactly the reason why I can't ever be a libertarian ever again. Government's going to take your money no matter what. So how about we have a real conversation about what we are going to spend it on? That amount they're taking isn't going to go down. They're going to spend it. So let's talk about how we can spend it in the most intelligent way.
We had a war over 3% T-tax. I think
Okay,
maybe we
but
should
we're not. We are not in that war anymore. The government's
No,
taking it.
wait,
You
wait,
can't
wait for it.
stop it.
Wait
Let's
for it.
talk
Wait
about
for
how
it.
we spend it.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Gibbs, go start that war by yourself. I'd love to see the
I'm not gonna
outcome.
do it. Yeah, it would be a real
Loser.
bad thing. But
Right.
Texas does.
No. Why?
And-
Wait. Soy. Why did they
Go
not like
ahead.
the taxes levied on them?
Unfair taxes. Nobody likes being
No. What did they state? They stated their reason. It was clear as day.
I mean,
Are you saying that you're too stupid? So tell me you're either hold on, answer this question. Are you either too stupid or you don't know what happened and you're talking out of your ass?
Oversimplifying the thing. You're simplifying.
No, it's documented, you moron.
Nah.
Oh my god.
Okay, as the biggest libertarian socialist in this space, okay, I would like to state you're incorrect.
Ty, what's up?
I don't think so.
Guys,
I would love to see like the Scottish libertarian movement back in like the 1700s. Can you imagine like, you may take our lives, but you will never take our tax dollars?
Gibbs only remembers half the slogan. He remembers no taxation, just forgets the without representation part.
That's the only part that matters because they're sitting there upset about taxes.
That's not no, it's the full content. Oh my god, you're so dumb. I hate white people.
I'm
racist.
Mexican, but that's fine. My dad's
You-
literally from Mexico illegally, so
Mhm.
you don't get much more Mexican than that.
And you got Indian too?
I'm just all Spanish blood, but hey, whatever.
All right.
Well, it's
Only
about that
1%.
time.
Only
that we
1%.
we are where we are now. So it's about that time we open up the panel. So if anybody needs to leave, I respect your time. Go ahead and give yourself an outro. And it's been a
Please
blast
save
having
us.
you all here.
Help.
And other than that, we're going straight into open.
All right,
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna-
get going. Oh, if you want to see yours, I think I actually I want to go first.
Go.
I'm gonna get going because despite me eating vegan ice cream on stream, I ate some vegan ice cream, non-vegan ice cream this morning by mistake, and I'm gonna have to keep dipping here, including right now. So I'm just gonna go. My stomach's a mess.
Drowsy's gonna shit his pants.
Been a blast, my dude.
Word.
Thanks for
Have a good
coming
night.
through.
Yeah, it was
Take care,
nice
buddy.
seeing you guys.